There you go, that's Eddie Howe after Unai Emery. Quick word, Scott Minto, on Nick Voltemade. He scored in only one of his last 20 games. This is a striker who costs a lot of money and he needs to start stepping up with the goals.
Yeah, he does, but as Eddie Howe was saying, you have to go back to the start of the season and what happened with Alexander Isak, and the fact that they brought in a lot of players late in the window and then suddenly the games are coming thick and fast, and he started off the season really well, but yeah, obviously he has fallen away. Those stats are pretty damning for a striker, but he's never been your number 9. He's never been your guy to run in behind, run the channels and score goals that way. He's sort of get the ball to him in the box, or he drops off and maybe makes those assists. So, it's interesting. I don't know what's happened to Visser, by the way. He was on the bench midweek where Anthony Gordon was up front, and he didn't come off the bench, and he's not even in the squad today. So maybe he's picked up an injury in training, I don't know. But Osula, it's down to Voltemade and Osula to work together really well with Barnes and Murphy on either side. Can be a 4-2-4 at times, or 4-2-3-1, depending on where Nick Voltemade goes. But yeah, of course, strikers are judged on goals first and foremost. Yeah,
I'm hearing it's a knock. We'll get it confirmed why Visser is out after the game. Liverpool-Brighton follows this one live on Talksport. Hugh Wozencroft is at Anfield for that, and he'll be with you at half-time of this game. It's last season's semi-finalist Aston Villa against the League Cup holders Newcastle United. One of the big boys is going to get knocked out live on Talksport. Here's your commentary team. FA Cup winner Scott Minto and first Joe Shannon.
Thank you, Adrian, and good evening to you. These two great clubs have lifted the FA Cup 13 times between them, but not since the 1950s. It's been too long. But given Unai Emery's trophy-winning pedigree and Newcastle's League Cup triumph last season, perhaps for one of these teams, this could be the year in the FA Cup. A reminder of the visiting goal for Aston Villa. Bogard, Pau Torres, Lindelof and Digne, Onana, Douglas Luiz and Barkley, with Bailey, Rodgers and Abraham furthest forward. For Newcastle, Ramsdale is in goal, Trippier, Chow, Byrne and Hall, Ramsey and Tonali, Murphy, that's Jacob Murphy, Voltemade and Barnes behind Osula up front. We've had quite the show here at Villa Park in the build-up, lots of noise over the PA system, and now the crowd are getting involved. We've even had plumes of flame and fireworks shooting up into the air. I don't know about you, Scott Minto, but they were keeping me quite warm, actually.
Yeah, today's been a little bit cooler. I don't mind it, though, with that nice blue sky and that big yellow thing in the sky as well, so that's not a problem for me. Let's wrap up warm. If you need a bit of body warmth, mate, we're at Valentine's Day, so we can have a little cuddle.
FA Cup winner Scott Minto is with us tonight on Talksport. What a day of football it's been around the grounds, around the country, in the FA Cup and in the EFL. But it is the original, the old and finest domestic cup competition, bar none. The FA Cup, live on Talksport. Aston Villa will get us off and underway in the claret and blue shirts, white shorts and blue socks. From right to left in the first half, Newcastle United are in their change kit tonight. Green shirts and socks with white shorts. And Newcastle playing from left to right towards the Holt End this evening. There are more than 6,000 Newcastle fans who have made the trip down from the northeast, certainly making themselves heard. And Aston Vincent Bizzett, he's under pressure straight away from Will Osula. The ball is headed down from on the halfway line by Malik Chow. Villa then scoop it forward up towards Abraham, who holds it up neatly and goes back to Rodgers. Rodgers quickly looks towards the right side, and Bailey, who gets it from Onana. Chow makes a half tackle. Bailey's continued his run into the area, and he pulls it back, and it's gathered by Ramsdale at the near post. Unai Emery applauds from the near side touchline. A bright start for Aston Villa in the opening minutes. 0-0 on Talksport.
Yeah, great start from Villa so far. And the only thing is they were lacking in that first minute was the finish. But that's exactly what these Villa fans want, to see their team on the front foot.
Hall was nearly away down the left-hand side, reached the left corner of the penalty area. Lunging challenge from Onana to stop him, stretching one of those long legs and whipping the ball away from underneath the feet of Lewis Hall. And it's a free kick to Aston Villa, away to our right-hand side as we look at it. What a noise at Villa Park. Two great clubs, two great custodians of the FA Cup, of course, in the past. 7 times Aston Villa have lifted the trophy, 6 times for Newcastle United. But as I say, you have to go back to the 1950s for the last time these two teams won the famous FA Cup. Already today we've had a great shock. Mansfield of League One, winners at Burnley of the Premier League. Mansfield into round 5 for the first time since 1975. We nearly had a shock at the Pirelli Stadium earlier on, but Burton beaten after extra time by West Ham United. I'll wrap up all of the FA Cup 4th round scores from today for you shortly. But of course we are going to be looking ahead to the 8 o'clock kick-off tonight, which is Liverpool against Brighton. Again, that live on Sport. Birmingham Leeds, Oxford Sunderland, Arsenal v Wigan, Talksport live and exclusive, and Grimsby against Wolves will be on Talksport 2. The ball is back to Bizzett, the goalkeeper again. Just inside his own penalty area. Bizzett looks up and clatters the ball downfield, right through the middle, over the head of Tammy Abraham. It's cleared away by Dan Burn on the retreat for Newcastle United, and then there's a foul by Lamari Bogard, and Newcastle get the throw on the far side. Doubtless buoyed Newcastle by the win at Tottenham in midweek that Scott and I were in North London to see. We'll get a word from Scott in a moment. Nick Voltemada, edge of the penalty area now, tries to poke it through the middle. Aston Villa will smuggle it away. Barkley has possession. Little ball out to the right back area. Bogard again, having to turn back towards his own goal. Finds Victor Lindelof. And now the goalkeeper Bizzett under a bit of pressure again as he scoops the ball upfield. Clever flick by Barkley up towards the tall, rangy Abraham on the halfway line. Back for his second spell at Aston Villa. And now Bailey charging as is his trademark from right into the central position onto that favoured left foot. Douglas Luiz, about 35 yards from goal. Little flick by Abraham out to the right-hand side. Of course, Douglas Luiz back for a second spell at Aston Villa 2. It's just like the old days, these days, at Villa Park.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm fascinated to see how Tammy Abraham will get on today. First time I've seen him live since being in the Chelsea shirt.
Well, Douglas Luiz has got a yellow card for a rather cynical pullback on Voltemada. He tried to play the ball forward, Douglas Luiz, lost possession, Voltemada counter-attacked, and the Brazilian hauled him to the ground. Yeah, but he was dilly-dallying with the ball, he wasn't even protecting it. And Nick Voltemada came in, stepped in, went past him, and he just brought him down. So 2 poor bits of play really from Douglas Luiz. We had a real thriller in the 3rd round for Newcastle United, that 3-3 draw with Bournemouth, which ended with Newcastle winning on penalties. Aaron Ramsdale saved 3 of those. It's his clearance upfield for Newcastle from the free kick, but they can't make anything of it. Now on the counter-attack come Aston Villa. Rodgers over halfway, blocked off by the industrious Trippier. Rodgers has gone down. He's hurt himself in that challenge. Play goes on for Newcastle. Voltemada, middle of the Aston Villa half, working it wide out to the near side. Jacob Murphy with the great Cathedral of the Holt End to the right hand side. Ramsey quick feet against his old club. He's given it away. Barkley there to win it back, and it's stabbed forward by Digne up to halfway. Neat layoff by Abraham into the path of Rodgers, tearing over the halfway line. Options to his left. Rodgers clips the ball up the middle, headed away by Chow, drops down to Abraham, still 0-0. Bailey on the edge of the penalty area now with a curling shot, and that's blocked by Lewis Hall. 5 minutes in, bright start to this game. Plenty of energy and endeavour. Just what you'd expect for an FA Cup tie, live on Talksport.
Yeah, I mentioned Tammy Abraham. I mean, 2 bits of play there. One, a simple pass, but a good one out to Liam Bailey. But before that, a wonderful first touch to Morgan Rodgers, who thankfully was able to get up after that. That sort of looked like he had an injury there. I want to see him on the ball as much as possible. Just a wonderful, wonderful talent. 2 years he's now been at Aston Villa. It's incredible to think that Middlesbrough only paid £1 million, and he was only there for 6 months. 8 million, rising to what, 16?
Well,
what a bargain!
It's that time of the year as well, Scott, isn't it? Whereas if you're an England fan, any time a potential starter goes to ground, you worry.
That went to my head as well, and I am an England fan, Joe.
Here is Ramsey on the halfway line. Good angle, ball down the right for Kieran Trippier. Trippier right corner of the penalty area, chips in across, high to the edge of the penalty area, flicked on by Voltemada. Loose ball or run to Harvey Barnes, away on the dead ball line. Barnes pulling it back. Ramsey takes a touch, cleared away. Now Trippier might go for goal from distance, tries to play it square, takes a deflection off Tonali, and it dropped kindly for Digne of Aston Villa. Good work by Pau Torres, nifty footwork to shepherd the ball away. Rodgers tracking back, then loses possession, and Newcastle in this change kit of green and white have the ball back. 7 minutes gone. Aston Villa 0, Newcastle United 0.
Yeah, do you know what? We've not had a shot on or off target yet, but this game has been played at real high intensity. Players not been given time at all, and once you get into the midfield, lovely little touches we've seen from the attacking players as well, and then good defending to make sure their goalkeepers don't have to do anything. Enjoyable so far.
And you can see that Newcastle have really benefited confidence-wise from that win at Tottenham, even though there is no Bruno Guimaraes tonight.
I thought they were superb midweek, apart from the sort of a 20-minute spell at the start of the second half, where Spurs really came at them and scored, and at one point it looked like maybe they would go on and get the next goal, but the moment that Newcastle did, it was never in doubt. But that first half display, very, very good, and you wouldn't believe they were so poor at home if you'd have just watched them as a one-off Tuesday.
Villa, who got back to winning ways here as well. Low shot from Barnes is dragged well wide of goal, fully 35 yards out, and he pulled that far beyond Bizzett's right-hand post, and the ironic cheers from the Aston Villa fans at the Holt end away to our right tell you all you need to know. The floodlights are on here, and in situ to watch this fourth round tie is the England manager Thomas Tuchel, who's high above us in the director's box at the moment.
I'm not surprised. I just mentioned Morgan Rogers. Harvey Barnes has now said he's not going to be Scottish. And maybe he's looking at him as well.
Well, there's plenty of options for Thomas Tuchel, and of course every game of the World Cup in the United States, Canada and Mexico will be live this summer on the Talksport network. Let's get an update from the Calcutta Cup. Alfie Reynolds.
We're 10 minutes into the second half. It's Scotland 24, England 13. England still down to 14 players. Henry Arundel with the 20-minute red card, which will expire in about 7 minutes' time. George Ford with a penalty in front of the post. It's Scotland 24, England 13.
Here come Newcastle United away on the right-hand side. Header away by Pau Torres. It'll bounce down to Ramsey, who nudges the ball forward all the way through to Bizzett. It trickles, and it's easy for the Aston Villa goalkeeper, Jacob Ramsey, up against his old side tonight. Had been at Aston Villa since the age of 6, and we saw him score his first Newcastle goal in North London on Tuesday. Beautifully taken it was as well.
Yeah, it really was. I don't think he wanted to leave Aston Villa. I don't think Aston Villa really wanted him to leave, but just finances dictate. It's taken him a bit of time to get used to being a Newcastle player, but I think the last few games he started to show his ability.
Ramsey to Murphy, who hooks the ball high up into the dark sky overhead into the penalty area, nodded down by Barnes, straight to Douglas Luiz, and Aston Villa come away with possession. Bailey tearing forward, his first Villa start in nearly a year. Voltemada, who's playing in the number 10 role, is there to win it back. His socks rolled halfway down his shins. Voltemada, good strength in the middle of the park to hold it up. And actually, Newcastle doing probably the better of the two teams in possession at the moment, as Jacob Murphy is flagged offside, standing almost beneath the looming Holt end. And it's a free kick to Aston Villa. 10 minutes gone. Neither goalkeeper's been seriously tested as yet, Scott Minto, but there is some promise in the start to the game. 0-0.
No, but, I always say this, you don't have to have a goal to be watching a good game. And this is a really good game of football with two top teams, watching the tactics and also the skill and the ability of when to play one touch, two touch, when to go short, when to go long. The movement of each set of players. Yes, it's a really, really good start.
Ross Barkley for Aston Villa, picking the pass to Rodgers. Rodgers left edge of the D, wide to Luca Digne, hangs up the cross, up goes the goalkeeper. Ramsdale takes it well, high above his head. Arguably the hero for Newcastle at the third round, saving those penalties in the shootout. 3 penalties he saved. And Newcastle have it on the right with Trippier. Early ball up the middle, headed away by Pau Torres, and Aston Villa have it back.
Luca Digne's got to put a better ball in there. He's got a great left foot, and he's better than that. He just just put it up for Ramsdale catching practice, what he was doing in the warm-up and what you do almost every day in the warm-up. You've got to whip it in a bit more and really test the Newcastle keeper.
Captaining the side tonight, Luca Digne. In the FA Cup today, Burton 0, West Ham 1. Burnley 1, Mansfield 2, in one of the big shocks of this season so far. Manchester City 2, Salford 0, Norwich 3, West Brom 1, and Southampton needing extra time, but they beat Leicester by 2-1. Liverpool against Brighton is at 8 o'clock, and that'll be live here on Talksport.
Double whammy for Leicester, of course.
Into the relegation zone in the Championship today. Onana on the halfway line, the tall, strident Onana, and he has possession again. Square on the halfway line to the Swede, Victor Lindelof, and now Pau Torres with the dark hair. Unai Emery quite demonstrative in these early stages, urging his Aston Villa players forward. Lindelof square again to Onana, nearly dallied on the ball, but managed to keep his feet away from Voltemada. Then he knocks it right up the middle, takes a big deflection off Ramsey, drops down to Onana again in the centre circle, and this time he's the picture of calm. Just nudging it across to Pau Torres. Now the diminutive Douglas Luiz accelerates forward. Abraham's layoff towards the onrushing Barkley is good, and Barkley was tripped by Malik Chow, and that's a free kick to Aston Villa. What, 35 yards out here, Scott Minto?
Yeah, Barkley did really well there actually, because Tammy Abraham tried to leave the ball first time layoff. It didn't go exactly where he wanted to go, but because Ross Barkley was ready to move on, he was able to get there just before Chow. And look, yeah, it's a long way out, but it's bang in front of goal. So might even be worth to try and, one of those sort of free kicks where you almost side foot it, get it up and over the wall, it spins it dips. And even if Aaron Ramsdale sort of saves it, he might not be able to catch it. And therefore you just really try and go on and get on the rebound.
This is at the north stand end of the ground. In the upper tier, there are thousands of Newcastle supporters, in addition to the usual allocation on the far side of the field in the Doug Ellis stand. We are almost dead level with this free kick, about 15 rows from the edge of the pitch, chipped in by Douglas Luiz. Abraham takes it down and scores! Right through the middle! Douglas Luiz with a little dink over the top of the Newcastle back line. Abraham took it down on his chest, turned it beyond the goalkeeper. Tammy Abraham is back. The first goal of his second spell at Aston Villa, his first for the club since 2019, and Villa lead in the fourth round of the FA Cup by 1-0.
Well, that is a really fantastically clever free kick. It looked like he was going to be offside. I'll tell you what, there's no VAR in the FA Cup, is there? It looked like he may well have been offside. It's a wonderful little dink. It's a pitching wedge from Douglas Luiz. Fantastic finish from Tammy Abraham. He's chested it. As he's chesting it, he's got his back to goal. And then he's kind of just somehow kicked it into the ground and it's gone over Aaron Ramsdale. But I'd like to see that again, whether he was offside or not.
Well, my first thought was that he was off. Looking along the line, no VAR in the fourth round of the FA Cup. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0, and he really is back. Tammy Abraham, joined at the end of January from Besiktas, and for Aston Villa now that he's off the mark again in the Villa shirt, it'll feel like he never left. 1-0 to Aston Villa. And Newcastle, I think, will be desperately disappointed not only with the defending of the free kick, but you'd have to say the decision-making in terms of the match officials, because it did look offside against Abraham.
Well, if it was offside, then the Newcastle defenders can turn around and say, well, we felt he was going offside, so we didn't go with it.
Well, they've given it away, Villa, to Osula, who hammers it over the top. That really was a poor strike. Cut right across it, sliced it right-footed, and the ball ballooned so far wide, in fact, that I think it's gone out of play for an Aston Villa throw in their left-back position.
I can do that.
Even I could have a go. Ballooning it wide.
I'm sure
like
you can
that.
have a shot that ends up going for a throw-in.
Ye of little faith. Abraham can't get on the end. No, he can get on the end of the ball forward to the halfway line, but he's Been beaten to it by Malik Chow. Newcastle go long down the middle over the top of Bogard, and well retrieved by Lindelof, backpedaling to find Bailey. Now here come Aston Villa on the counter-attack, leading by a goal to nil live on Talksport. Bailey darting infield from the right-hand side. He goes down to the challenge of Lewis Hall, and they've got it back here, Newcastle United, with Byrne, 6'6", Dan Byrne, at the heart of the back line. Newcastle 1, Aston Villa 0, latest from the Calcutta Cup with Alfie Reynolds.
56 minutes gone. Scotland 31, England 13. England's nightmare in Edinburgh continues. Hugh Jones has his second try, and it came from a George Ford charge down as England were going for a drop goal. 56 gone. Scotland 31, England 13.
Still 1-0 to Aston Villa here as Rodgers surges forward over the halfway line. Voltemada tracking him, trying to pull him back. Rodgers finds Barkley. There's a man over. It's Leon Bailey into the area. Cuts it back. Abraham. Good block by Chow. And then they want handball not once but twice. The Aston Villa supporters hit Chow. Then it hit Hall. They work it wide out to the right-hand side, and Bailey again. We're in the 18th minute. Under the floodlights here. Aston Villa have still got possession, and they nearly doubled their lead.
They did. Really good defending first of all from Lewis Hall, not allowing Leon Bailey to come onto his left foot.
Luca Digne down the inside left, pulling it back, and Barkley into the ground with the left-footed volley, and it takes one bounce and scoops up into the hands of Ramsdale.
Right, so first of all with attack before, well done Lewis Hall, not allowing Leon Bailey to come back onto his left foot, open up the goal. So only would have been on the edge of the 6-yard box. And then really good defending from Malik Chow. Perfect body positioning where Tammy Abraham had a first-time shot. And just there as well, that's half a chance for Ross Barkley. The technique he's got, if he's on his right foot, I think he's at least hitting the target, but he's very good on his left foot as well. No one was around him, had time to take a touch if he wanted to, but just tried to volley it in first time on his left foot. In the end, didn't get proper connection, but it's all Villa at the moment, isn't it?
Could have been 2 for Tammy Abraham, but he has gone down here holding on to his left ankle by the looks of things, and the referee Chris Kavanagh is going to summon the Aston Villa physios, and so we have the first delay to play 18 minutes in on a chilly early evening in the second city, and we will stay in the second city tomorrow for another of our 10 live commentaries across the FA Cup weekend. Birmingham City against Leeds United from noon tomorrow. That's followed by Oxford against Sunderland at 2. Arsenal against Wigan at 4:30. Grimsby against Wolves is at 1:30. That's on Talksport 2. And then Monday night, Macclesfield, conquerors of the former, now deposed holders, Crystal Palace in the third round, take on Brentford in round 4. And at the same time on Talksport 2, once again we bring you a choice of listening. There's a massive game in the Championship as Coventry take on Middlesbrough. This is FA Cup game day on Talksport with McDonald's. Order delivery on the McDonald's app from 11 a.m. 18 plus, fees apply to delivery orders, subject to availability, price may vary. Abraham jogs out towards the near side, and he gets a hearty round of applause from the Aston Villa fans around us in the lower tier of the Trinity Road side of the ground.
Was a great finish, wasn't it? The way he just contorted his body to chest the ball with his back to goal, and then the way he kind of hit it into the ground and went over Aaron Ramsdale. I mean, he's such a cool, calm character. Sometimes you feel like you need to get a rocket up his backside, but that was a wonderful finish.
Good ball by Voltemada, out to the right, gets it back from Trippier, inside right channel, right along the line of the 18-yard box, plays it backwards to Jacob Murphy. Now Sandro Tonali in the middle of midfield for Newcastle. Wide right to Trippier again as Newcastle seek an equaliser. Murphy's pull back, bounced off Douglas Luiz. Then it deflects into the path of Trippier again. Poor touch by Luca Digne. Tracking back is Rodgers, who keeps the ball in play right on his own dead ball line, and it's hoisted clear by Pau Torres over halfway. Newcastle have it back, and Abraham is back on the field now for Aston Villa, and whatever the issue was, he seems to have got over it rather quickly. Trippier for Newcastle. Back to Chow with the green boots on to match the green shirt and socks. Just a third Premier League away win of the season for Newcastle at Tottenham in the week. Forward by Barnes, reverse ball up the inside left. Good stretch by Lindelof to turn it away. And if he hadn't done, Asula could have been in in that inside forward position. Out of play it goes for a Newcastle throw, and back they go to the halfway line. Well, Newcastle building here with Eddie Howe watching on, arms folded on the near side touchline as they look for that equalising goal. A long way to go in the cup tie. Of course, as we've seen today in the fourth round, a couple of ties went to extra time at Burton Albion and at Southampton as well. Good flick Voltemada back to Harvey Barnes, who accelerates infield from the left, rolls it wide to Kieran Trippier. First time pass on to Murphy. Murphy down by the dead ball line, back to Trippier. First time right-footed cross, headed away, comes out to Lewis Hall, juggles the ball, darts forward, goes down just inside the penalty area. Newcastle fans want a spot kick. Referee says no, and then Abraham is taken out midway inside his own half. That free kick will go Aston Villa's way, Scott Minter.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're watching a really good game of football between two teams who want to go at it. Obviously, Aston Villa have got the great start so far. Newcastle defence will say, hold on a minute, we played him offside. It should have been offside. And I'm sure I'll be having a conversation with a certain Adrian Durham about VAR at half-time.
Well, it was offside at first glance. And we had a good couple of replays of it on the monitors in our commentary position here, but you could even see in real time we were almost level with the free kick. It did feel like Abraham had pulled half a yard ahead of the last Newcastle defender.
I've just texted him, he's texted me back, he said he's done his shift, he's on his way home. I'll be speaking to Hugh at half time. Half day for 8.
Oh, he'll be back, don't you worry about that. Back it goes to Bizzett for Aston Villa, the goalkeeper, deputising for Martinez tonight. Bizzett floats the ball upfield, not a particularly good ball, headed away by Chow for Newcastle to the left-back position of Aston Villa, where it's retrieved by Douglas Luiz, and now the leggy Abraham playing it backwards to Digne. In the Championship today, Derby 2, Swansea 0, Derby into the playoffs, Portsmouth 0, Sheffield United 1, Preston 2, Watford 2, QPR 1, Blackburn 3, and Sheffield United 1, Millwall 2. Forward by Rodgers, up the middle for Aston Villa. Chasing was Barkley, well retrieved by Tonali. Spotted that run of Barkley. He reads the game so elegantly, Sandro Tonali.
Do you know what? That's the ugly side of the game that people don't see, and a lot of midfielders don't want to do. Ross Barkley's running in, and it was a wonderful ball, and he would have been in. It would have been a one-on-one. But Tonali went with him, said, nah, get out the way. Just brilliant midfield play, defensive midfield play.
Yes, it was very diligent from Tonali, coming across on the cover like that while everybody else had stopped. Newcastle got a throw. Kieran Trippier will take it. Little pat on the back for Unai Emery. Trippier wearing the captain's armband tonight in place of Bruno Guimaraes. The Aston Villa bench is very strong, I must say. Martinez, Konsa, Mings, Martson, Sancho, Buendia, Watkins, Garcia and the youngster Kone. The Newcastle bench, 2 goalkeepers, Pope and Ruddy, then Willock, Elanga, Gordon, Alex Murphy and youngsters Shahar, Neve and Park Sung-soo.
Do you know what? Both benches are able to come off and be that plan B, aren't they?
Yeah.
Be the finisher, whatever the manager wants to do. Obviously at the moment, Eddie Howe won't be thinking about the bench right now, but he'll certainly be thinking, let's see how it goes, and if at 60, 70 minutes it's the same scoreline, then I do have options.
Fizzed forward by Bizzett upfield through the evening sky, and now Rodgers on the turn is caught by Chow, and that's one foul too many, and Chow is now yellow carded by the referee. You could see that coming from a mile off. The second he hauled back Rodgers, had to be a booking, I think.
Do you know what? It's just brilliant play from Morgan Rodgers. He's brought the ball down on his chest. He's not got a right back, he's got a centre half up against him, really trying to out-muscle him. He's held him off, he's just rolled him, and then in the end Malik Chow's had to pull him down, not only give a foul but a yellow card as well. Just brilliant play from Rodgers, and now Chow has to be careful for the rest of the game.
Already met twice this season, these two teams, goalless at Villa Park early on in the campaign, and Villa won at Newcastle on the 25th of January, just a few weeks ago. Douglas Luiz floats the free kick out to the right wing position, and now Leon Bailey taking on Lewis Hall. Bailey twisting one way and then the other, trying to squeeze between two green shirts. No way through beyond the combination of Hall and Barnes, who nudges the ball forward really poorly with the outside of his foot. That was never going to reach Osula. Way under hit. Good covering by Bogard to send it back to the goalkeeper. Had a lot of late runners into the penalty area from deep for that set piece, Aston Villa. Cleared upfield by Bizzett again. Towering header away by Chow, this time above Morgan Rogers. The ball drops for Bailey, who races forward infield from the right-hand side. Bailey middle of the Newcastle half, square to Douglas Luiz. Out on the near side, the left is Luca Digne. Digne delivers. Bailey's header is wide. Who would have thought a flying header from Leon Bailey?
That big centre forward, Leon Bailey. It was a much better ball in. Said about, 10 minutes ago. Luca Digne put in the ball that was just catching practice for Aaron Ramsdale. I think it was in his head, because it was a bit of a careful one, but he certainly made sure, didn't put as much whip on it. He certainly made sure that Ramsdale couldn't come out and catch it. But what it did mean that Leon Bailey was on about the penalty spot. He was almost having to, generate the pace. And he couldn't quite get pace and direction at the same time. But it's good play from Villa.
Nearly half an hour gone. Still 1-0 to Aston Villa. Tammy Abraham with the goal. Morgan Rogers with the interception for Villa to play it back to Bizzett again, and the goalkeeper's left-footed clearance is high upfield from the Dutchman. It'll bounce down on the halfway line, retrieved by Douglas Luiz. Ever tenacious in the middle of midfield, and he rolls away from the much taller Osula to knock it square to the defender Victor Lindelof. 8 o'clock tonight, Liverpool against Brighton in the fourth round of the FA Cup. That is live on Talksport. And among our commentaries tomorrow, we'll bring you Birmingham City against Leeds United. Darting forward is Jacob Ramsey to the edge of the penalty area now. Ramsey went down under the challenge of two Aston Villa players. Looks towards the referee. Chris Kavanagh says no penalty.
Yeah, but then he gets up and just carries on as if he kind of knows. Not that he dived, but he wasn't going to get a penalty there. And that's what they need to do, because Newcastle, they're working hard, they're battling well, but they're not able to get the wide players involved. Nick Voltemada is running around, but he's not able to show his class. We've hardly seen any service up to Osula as well. So as much as Newcastle are giving it everything, they need to find a way to isolate the wingers against the fullbacks, or get the ball into Nick Voltemada when he's in a really dangerous position.
Trippier out on the near side to right for Newcastle, live with the edge of the 18-yard area, back to Sandro Tonali. That all came, by the way, Newcastle winning it back after a crunching tackle against his old club by Ramsey, who certainly looks up for the fight tonight. Ramsey, whose name was warmly applauded by the Villa fans when it was read over the PA before the game started, which was good to hear. He was a great servant to Aston Villa in his time at the club.
Yeah, it was almost sacrificed, wasn't he, for financial reasons.
Indeed.
He didn't want to go. Villa didn't want him to go, but needs must. Shame.
Given away by Chow. Ross Barkley in the centre circle now has got Abraham ahead of him. It's 2 against 4, but Villa are getting players forward now with regularity. Abraham from the corner of the penalty area, deflection on the cross, and it's gathered by Ramsdale.
He thought about that, Ross Barkley, didn't he? 40, 50 yards out, because Aaron Ramsdale was trying to race back into his box and get close to Ream where his line is, or at least the 6-yard box. He looked up, and perhaps his body position wasn't quite as right, because technically he can definitely do that, but in the end he played it to Tammy Abraham and the ball fell into Ramsdale's arms.
Aston Villa players warming up in front of us here. Some of the substitutes. Here is Chow just over the halfway line with a bandage on his right wrist. They do have a number of injury problems at the moment, Newcastle United. Wissa not in the squad tonight. We'll endeavour to find the exact reason for that. Hall with a clever dink over the top. Harvey Barnes is in behind, into the area now, and again he goes to ground as Bogard came across, and again Chris Kavanagh satisfied that the challenge was a good one, says goal kick. Eddie Howe is in deep conversation with the fourth official.
Yeah, it's that high line of Villa, isn't it? And there's no pressure on the ball, so it's a little dink over the top. And Harvey Barnes, he gets in behind. Well, I don't think that's a foul there.
Bogard,
as he does get caught up with Harvey Barnes, and he doesn't touch the ball. But it's one of those where there's contact. I think the referee's at a different angle. He'll turn around and say, but he's brought him down.
All nearly in trouble as he nudges the ball back to Ramsdale. All in pink tonight, the Newcastle goalkeeper. Newcastle playing from left to right in the first half towards the Holt end. They are 1-0 down at Aston Villa in the 4th round of the FA Cup, live here on Talksport.
Harvey Barnes wasn't happy with it, was he?
No, he wasn't at all. Screaming at the referee, and Eddie Howe, as I say, was having a word with the 4th official to make his point. It's a different complexion and feel to games without VAR, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I mean, look, again, I think, and rightly so, there's a high bar now to VAR, so I don't think the referee would have been called over. There's no way you can say that was a clear and obvious error, but there was definitely contact there, and he definitely didn't touch the ball. The question is, was there enough contact to justify him going down, and therefore it's a foul and a penalty?
And on that basis, you feel as though the referee probably made the right decision?
Yeah, I mean, look, you go with the referee's call. He could have gone the other way. There's no doubt about it. I'm a defender. I'm going to turn around and say, of course, there's a bit of contact. But it doesn't mean to say that he could have gone down like he did. But got to be careful, Bogart, for sure. And that's what I'm talking about, the one-on-one situations. You know, Bogart, if Harvey Barnes is running in at him, and Jacob Murphy as well at Lucadinho, he's got him all day long on toast if he has a sprint, but they haven't been able to isolate them.
That's the voice of former FA Cup winner Scott Minto, victorious with Chelsea in the 90s.
And someone who's come up against quick wingers. Still having nightmares.
Yeah, you're too harsh on yourself, Scott. Again, not for the first time. Tonali's going to let the ball drift out of play here for a Newcastle throw right in front of the Newcastle dugout. Eddie Howe cajoling his players. Chow plays a square ball to the giant Byrne, who takes 2 big strides and it's over the halfway line, and he's raced forward down the inside left here, Byrne, but he can't get to the reverse ball played downfield by Barnes. It is out of play for another Newcastle United throw. Ironic cheers from the vast numbers of travelling supporters every time they get a decision now. Chow just shy of the lip of the centre circle. It's an interesting game because Newcastle have had most of the possession, yet Aston Villa, who played largely as a counter-attacking team at home, are the side with the lead 33 minutes in. Header away by Rodgers for Aston Villa. Oh, and he takes the ball down on his right foot beautifully. Sticks to his feet like glue there, Rodgers, albeit he is in a tight area. Plays it back to Torres, and then between Rodgers and Digne, Aston Villa very calmly and very elegantly look to play the ball out of the defensive third. They've got to be careful not to overplay. Pau Torres has chipped it forward and given it away. Barnes now forward into the penalty area, gets the return ball. Harvey Barnes has lashed it into the side netting. What a big chance that was for Newcastle United.
Well, it's a great chance, isn't it? And you're right. I mean, they're passing it nicely, even though they're in their own box. It's the moment they try to go long, Newcastle are on it. Great little play, and look, the angle's very, very tight. But Harvey Barnes has to find a way to go for the far post, not the near post. And then if Beazle gets a touch on it, it goes towards goal, or certainly into the goal area. By shooting on the first post side, and I mean, not even getting on target, it's a goal kick, but even if it had saved it, it'd be pushing it back away from goal. Always aim for the far post, and then if he can't hold it properly, someone might be able to come in and just have a simple tap in.
A very impressive 12 goals for the season so far for Harvey Barnes. As Byrne with a slightly underhit back pass to Ramsdale.
He'd have loved to score that in front of Tommy Tuchel, wouldn't he?
Jacob Murphy coming back from an offside position. Let Aston Villa have a free kick. Yes, he's here tonight, Thomas Tuchel, on FA Cup 4th round Saturday. Burton 0, West Ham United 1. Burnley 1, Mansfield 2. Well done to Nigel Clough's Mansfield. That's a terrific result for them away at Burnley. And into the 5th round for the first time since the mid-70s. Manchester City beat Salford 2-0. Norwich 3, West Brom 1. And Southampton edged out Leicester by 2-1. Bailey with that turn infield from the right-hand side, playing it through the middle towards Abraham. It was way overhit from Bailey, and it's just trickled through to Aaron Ramsdale. Always looks sprightly, Bailey, when he's running with the ball, but that final product, that final pass, was certainly lacking there.
Yeah, talk about Morgan Rodgers. And it's almost like he's their standout player. And the likes of, Buendia and Bailey and Jadon Sancho, they're not quite at the same level. They're good players, very technical, skillful players. But Morgan Rodgers is the one who's effective. He's skillful and technical, but effective as well. And we saw him almost just toying with Newcastle players in his own box. I remember a training session, it was disguised running, where you'd have like 11v11 or 10v10, 8v8, whatever, but you could only tackle the player you've been assigned to. Let me tell you, I would not want to be assigned to Morgan Rogers. It'd be almost impossible getting the ball off him.
There's a great confidence about Rogers, isn't there, as the ball goes out and played for an Aston Villa throw in the left-back position. Strides around Villa Park like he commands the field of play, and he almost makes it look effortless at times, Morgan Rogers.
You know what, the real top players, they play at their pace. It looks like they're actually not going as fast as they are, and yet everything's almost in slow motion. And he's getting towards that kind of status where, yeah, you know, he's not just an England international. At this moment in time, he probably is a starter in the first game of the World Cup, and if he has a great World Cup, then he could be an absolute superstar.
Rogers midway inside his own half the field, turning away from the challenge of Chow, and leaves Voltemada for dead as well. Lovely footwork from Rogers, a weaving run to carry it forward over the halfway line. Douglas Luiz has got Luca Digne wide left, 1-0 to Aston Villa on Talksport. Digne pulling it backwards to Douglas Luiz. He's a long way out, but he'll go for goal, and it whistles just a yard or so over the top.
It's a great strike, isn't it? It's a wonderful strike, and I think it shows the confidence that Villa and Douglas Luiz has got right now. You know, I wouldn't say they're dominating Newcastle by any stretch of the imagination, but we've got two teams that just look really good on the ball. And Douglas Luiz is 25 yards out, left of goal, but he's thinking, yeah, I'm going to have a pot there. And it wasn't a million miles away.
Last scored when playing for Aston Villa in 2024. In fact, almost exactly 2 years ago, when he scored twice for Aston Villa against Nottingham Forest. Header on the halfway line by Hall and flicked forward by Jacob Ramsey into the path of Asula. Asula trying to nudge it to his right, and Voltemada, who keeps his footing, chips the ball down the right-hand side to the opposite wing. Here comes Kieran Trippier, and he collides in a 50-50 challenge with the retreating Rogers again, and the deflection was last off Trippier. That'll be a goal kick to Aston Villa at the Hull 10.
Hold a minute, Joe. I just need to count how many Morgan Rogers are actually out there, because he's right up brilliant going forward. He's playing as a left back. I'm sure I've seen him in that sort of centre back stroke DM role. Is that allowed?
It is when you're that good. He covers all angles, does Morgan Rogers.
Yeah, I can confirm there is only one.
But it feels like he's everywhere.
Absolutely.
Now he's on the halfway line as Aston Villa shepherd the ball forward along the left-hand touchline, near side of the field, and that's a throw. Unai Emery pacing up and down inside the technical area here. Rogers holds up the play ahead of Byrne. Lay off a little short towards Murphy, though. Byrne wins it back for Newcastle in the middle of midfield. Voltemada, who is celebrating his birthday today, out to the left, and Lewis Hall. Now Barnes shuffling in field, finds Sandro Tonali. Tonali on the halfway line, square to Malik Chow. Newcastle go crossfield. Chow with a raking ball out to the left, and Hall miscontrols it through his legs.
Oh, it's a shame, because that was, and we were right behind that, weren't we, that diagonal. A 50-yard ping from the almost inside right-back position to Lewis Hall at left-back, left wing. And he's better than that. And that would have been a dangerous situation that he could have maybe whipped a really good cross in, or played it into Nick Voltemada on the edge of the box. So it's a shame.
Well, Lewis Hall will be being watched in earnest by Thomas Tuchel tonight, no question about that. There is a left-back spot up for grabs at the World Cup for England.
I like him a lot. I think he's really come on. Another player that's left Chelsea and is doing well.
Headed down by Chow, no offside against Osula, turning it wide right to Murphy. Murphy with a poor cross, cleared away easily at the near post. It's dropped out to Trippier. Newcastle seek an equaliser with 5 minutes of the first half to go. On Talksport, Aston Villa leading 1-0. Murphy back to Tonali, green shirt hanging untucked. Tonali looks to drift towards the corner of the penalty area, plays it wide to Chow instead. Now it's with Trippier again. Trippier forward through a little gap to find Ramsey against his old team. Back to goal. Ramsey now faces the Holt end as he nudges it square to Voltemada. Voltemada held up by Onana. Aston Villa with everybody in claret and blue back behind the ball. One of them, Digne, makes a lunging late challenge on Murphy. Right in front of the assistant referee. Luca Digne, the Aston Villa captain, is going to get a yellow card.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about Newcastle have to find a way to get the ball out wide, because these full-backs, especially Luca Digne, he's got great left foot and he's very good. He's got football intelligence, but in terms of the athletic side of it, he's nowhere near Jacob Murphy and what he can offer, and that's a naughty challenge, that is. It's not a red, it's a bad foul, it's a definite yellow, and now he's got to be careful.
Liverpool against Brighton tonight at 8 o'clock on Talksport, followed by the Sports Bar Weekender with Adam Cattrall and Jermaine Pennant. 03717 223344 to have your say on the afternoon and evening's football. And Murphy having to reorganise his pretty small shin pad and green socks.
Yeah. Wear a bigger shin pad. See that stud mark down his side of his shin.
They're in vogue, small shin pads these days, aren't they? But it really was a nasty lunge by Digne.
He's lucky in a way. If it had been just a few inches higher, then it could easily have been seen as a red. Really dangerous tackle. It was bordering on that. I do think the yellow is the right decision, and he's definitely caught Murphy. Murphy's got to make sure that he keeps on asking for the ball all the time and saying to Kieran Trippier, don't come near me, just give me the ball and create space for me. Let me have a one-on-one. He's on a yellow card.
Trippier standing over the free kick, plenty forward in the green and white of Newcastle United. Trippier to drive it in right-footed, headed down, out comes Bizzard, able to get there first ahead of Malik Chow. Voltemada with the first contact. Oh, and then the goalkeeper bobbles the ball on the edge of his own penalty area in front of Asula. And I think he ran into Lindelof there, the goalkeeper, but he has actually got a free kick out of it.
Yeah, no, I think he ran into Asula, and Asula's put his hand on his chest and just caught him with the ball, and it's fallen down. But yeah, that's half an opportunity, half a chance there.
Aston Villa have been quite passive tonight, despite leading by a goal to nil, and the atmosphere hasn't been quite as raucous as you would have hoped for. Abraham, the goal scorer, lofty layoff out to the right wing position, brought down by Bailey, who nudges it backwards to Bogard. One or two gaps opening up in the stands as we await half time here. Little flick by Bailey out to the right, and Bogard, the fullback, reverse ball down the inside right. Bailey's after it, nudges it against the shins of Byrne and wins Aston Villa a corner. Now that was well worked by Aston Villa.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what they want to try and do if they can. Really try to expose Dan Byrne in that sort of left-hand side slot if Lewis Hall has pushed on. And we saw that with Spurs, didn't we, in midweek when he was playing left-back initially. That ball over the top, very dangerous, but to be fair to Dan Byrne, he positioned himself really well. Didn't make a tackle, but did have to give away the corner.
Leon Bailey is going to take it. It'll be left-footed and in-swinging. Everybody back here for Newcastle United at the north stand end of the ground. 1-0 to Aston Villa. Into the near post it goes. Towards Barkley. Smuggled away by Ramsey. Comes back to Bailey to whip it in low. Only away as far as Onana. Back to goal. Nudges it to Digne. And now Douglas Luiz floats it over the top again. Abraham is in again. And he tried to turn it across the face of goal. Dan Byrne tucks it behind for a corner. The Newcastle fans are screaming at the assistant referee. They felt it should have been offside.
Well, again, they've got to be careful, because I tell you what, they're very, very close. And when you don't have VAR, you can't rely on the officials. That was a tight one.
20 seconds of normal time to go at the end of the first half. Into added time very shortly here on Talksport. 1-0 to Aston Villa. Here's Bailey with a short corner along the dead ball line. Pau Torres wriggling away from his man, fizzing it into the near post. Barkley was there and he's blocked off, and then the loose ball trickles towards that dead ball line again. Bailey whacks it against the legs of Hall. It's another Aston Villa corner as we go into 1 minute of added time.
Yeah, if the referee's assistant looks like he's not putting his flag up, then you quite simply just have to drop off. You can't be playing offside. You can't rely on VAR because there is no VAR. And the last thing Newcastle we wanted to concede in the second goal, and they were slightly offside, but it's not going to be given.
Very different dynamic to the game. as Digne delivers left-footed, headed away at the near post by Ramsey. Flick further clear by Harvey Barnes. Bailey fizzes the ball to the edge of the box, only as far as Trippier, and suddenly Newcastle are clear on the counter, and Bissett is miles out. He's lunged in on Jacob Murphy, and he's off. What is the goalkeeper thinking there? He is miles off his line, only a few yards away from the centre circle as Newcastle United broke up field, and Bissett with an utterly reckless lunge on Jacob Murphy. He sides him down, and there can be no question of the decision of the referee. A straight red card given in an instant, and now this cup tie takes on an entirely new dynamic. Aston Villa lead by a goal to nil, but they are deservedly down to 10 men. That is a moment of madness from Bissett.
Joe, what's he thinking? I mean, that's like a goalkeeper who I haven't had anything to do. I want to get involved in this game somehow. But you're not playing up in the garden or down the local rec. He's come to almost where the centre circle is. Ramsey's gone past him, and he's just absolutely caned him down, chopped him down, thigh high. He's got no complaints whatsoever. And fair play to Murphy for actually making sure that he's got the ball past him. Because that feels like he's got nothing left to do. But what are you doing there in the first place?
Well, there is a twist in the cup tie. Aston Villa are going to play the entirety of the second half and the rest of the first period here with only 10 men. And who is going to be sacrificed for the man that they always call the world's number one here at Aston Villa, Emi Martinez? Bissett is off and is watching a replay of the tackle, I think, on the near side touchline, gets a pat on the back from one of the coaches and walks off down the near side of the field, heading for the tunnel. He's being applauded by the Aston Villa fans. He shouldn't be being applauded.
He shouldn't be watching it either. That's an absolute horror show. I mean, what were you thinking? That is a goalkeeper. We always say that the top goalkeepers, they do nothing for 20 minutes and then they put themselves and make a great save or do something special. Well, that is someone who's done nothing for 20 minutes and just thinking, I want to get involved in this game. What are you doing?
So in first half stoppage time, Leon Bailey is the man sacrificed, and Aston Villa will have to change shape potentially here. On comes Emi Martinez, who'll no doubt get a big cheer as he jogs towards the Holt end. Boos from the Newcastle United supporters. So the World Cup winning Argentine is on in a situation that he wouldn't have expected, with 3.5 minutes now into first half added time on Talksport. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle 0, but Villa are going to play the rest of the game with only 10 men. Sandro Tonali, just inside the Aston Villa half, is going to flight the free kick forward. Everybody back for Aston Villa. The 10 now, as Tonali whips the ball to the left-hand side. Harvey Barnes attacking Barkley, and Barkley stops him in his tracks. Barnes goes to ground, and the referee blows for half-time. And the Newcastle players march with an irritated look towards referee Chris Kavanagh. They're surrounding the referee, the green-shirted Newcastle players here. Eddie Howe and his assistant Jason Tyndall not happy either. But what is absolutely certain is that while Aston Villa lead by a goal to nil at half-time, the dynamic of this game has completely changed. After Tammy Abraham gave Aston Villa the early lead following Douglas Luiz's free kick, they'd managed the game pretty well right up until first half stoppage time, when Bissett charged off his line, miles out of his goal, the goalkeeper, made an utterly idiotic challenge to side down Jacob Murphy and was subsequently given a straight red card. So the complexion has changed at Villa Park, but it's the 10 men of Aston Villa who lead Newcastle United by a goal to nil.
Absolutely fantastic. That is what football is all about for me. Okay, yeah, drama, entertainment, red cards, penalty shouts. We'll even have a discussion as to whether VAR should be in football after that first half, because it had just about everything. The Villa fans will be terribly pleased with the fact that the officials have given just about everything in their in their way, except for that red card. That Chris Kavanagh couldn't have done anything else than send Marco Bizzo off. We'll get the opinions of Scott Minto in a few moments' time. Hello, an unfamiliar voice compared to Adrian Durham. I'm Hugh Woozencroft at Anfield. We got Liverpool against Brighton coming up on Talksport at the end of events at Villa Park. Who knows when that will be, with Villa having to play the rest of the game, albeit a goal up but down to 10 men. We'll be back very, very shortly. You're listening to FA Cup Game Day on Talksport with McDonald's. Order delivery on the McDonald's app from 11 a.m. It's 18 plus. Fees apply to delivery orders, subject to availability, and prices may vary. Let's head up to Murrayfield to find out exactly what has happened in the end of Scotland against England in the Calcutta Cup. Talksport's Alfie Reynolds.
Where it finished, Scotland 31, England 20. England came to Edinburgh on a 12-game winning streak, but at a venue where they haven't won since 2020. The nightmares of matches and present came hurtling back to haunt them. Defence was poor and absent, and Scotland were brilliant and ruthless in capitalising on the that England gave. Henry Arundel was shown 2 first-half yellow cards, either side of scoring. During his 30-minute shot, which 20 of those were a red card, Scott scored 3 tries. Hugh twice, one of when George Ford had a drop goal that was charged down the length of the pitch. Jamie Ritchie also went over, and Ben White scored when Kenj caught the line. England's dreams of a title hang by a thread. Grand aspirations are up in smoke, and Scotland, so poor last week in defeat to Italy, are up and running. They battered England here, who scored a late consolation try through Ben Earl. It's Scotland that win the Calcutta Cup. The full-time score, Scotland 31, England 20.
England's torrid record away at Scotland in the Six Nations continues. That will be celebrated widely in Paris, I am sure. And also a little bit earlier on, Ireland bounced back from their defeat in Paris, beating Italy 20 points to 13. Pretty unconvincing once again, but they got the job done in the end. England back to the drawing board. Remember, they go to face France away from home on the final weekend of the Six Nations. We could be set for a grandstand finish. Let's go back to Villa Park, though. Chelsea FA Cup winner Scott Minto, who's been watching the first half of Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0. And on the stroke of half-time, what on earth was going through the mind of Marco Bizzo in the Aston Villa goal, Scott?
Mate, I have no idea. I've no idea. And you know, it's almost like you want to ask him that question. It's the first thing. Can we speak to him post-match, please? What were you thinking? Because look, it's not as if Newcastle were playing badly. They weren't. And they were really trying to get at Aston Villa. But Aston Villa were pretty much in control of the game, especially being 1-0 up. So why would you come out and race like that? There's absolutely no need. No need to do that. And I said it in commentary, I just feel like it was almost like you've got a 10-year-old in goal who's just bored.
Yeah.
And like, right, I haven't done anything for 20 minutes. I want to get involved in this game. And boy, is he got involved in this game. And Newcastle must be thinking, if we stretch the game, if we get them running, even if the last 20 minutes, we play at high intensity, make a few substitutions as well, just really get at them, tire them out. There's no reason why we can't score the equaliser and maybe even get the winner within 90 minutes, if not extra time.
The whole thing was schoolboy, Scott, to be perfectly honest with you. When you look at Leon Bailey, who tried a kind of half-volley diagonal pass when 5 or 6 Newcastle players were bearing down on him on the break, it went straight to a Newcastle foot. And they laid it straight to Murphy, who was running straight at the goalkeeper. Just all of it really, really amateurish from Aston Villa. And it was really surprising in the end. And for any Villa fans who were thinking that there was an Aston Villa player who was covering in behind Bizzo, the reality of the situation is the tackle was incredibly high, contact was made on the knee, the ball had already been long gone, it was cynical. Everything about that challenge was what we don't want to see. Thankfully Murphy is okay, and it was a nailed on red card, and it was really something that spoiled the game for Aston Villa because everything had been going their way until then. Tammy Abraham got the goal on 14 minutes. VAR not involved in the game. He looked offside. He scored. I don't know if the world's going to end over it. The Premier League might be desperate for the FA Cup to get VAR back in as soon as possible because it might be making them look bad. Because, listen, I don't mind it, to be perfectly honest. A lot of these decisions haven't gone the way of Newcastle United in that first half. But the game is entertaining. It's exactly what we want.
Do you know what, Hugh, right? So I've always been for VAR. I don't mind if there's no VAR. I don't, right? But I've been for it, and less is more, have a very high bar and only clear and obvious errors. But if this game ends 1-0 and Newcastle are knocked out of the FA Cup because of a bad linesman's decision, then the Newcastle fans can turn around and say, what is going on here? So this is exactly why you need VAR, for these type of crucial moments. Less is more. Don't get involved too much. Luca Digne on another day could have been perhaps given a red card. I personally think a yellow was fair enough, but I've had a few people already telling me that they thought it was a red. But it wasn't a clear and obvious. But the point is that for something that is clear and obvious, that's factual. If Newcastle lose because of this particular goal, then they will be absolutely devastated and rightfully angry.
I tell you, the Luca Digne challenge, if that was in the Premier League, I think he might have got his marching orders. And when you look at the challenge that Bogard made on Harvey Barnes, a huge penalty shout for Newcastle United, I think in the Premier League, it certainly would have been looked at. I think the referee would have been called to the screen. I think he probably gets a penalty for that as well. Bogard dangles a leg, doesn't make contact with the ball, ends up taking Barnes down, could easily be given as a penalty as well. But I've got to be honest, Scott.
Yeah.
I'll take you way back, and some of you weren't around at the time, but I remember Paul Scholes scoring a goal against Porto. That was about 3 yards onside. They got given offside. We all know how that ended, with Jose Mourinho running down the touchline as Porto got a winner. They went on to win the Champions League. The world didn't end.
But
he became one of the best managers in the game.
You're not bitter about it, Hugh, no?
No, what I'm saying is, it happens in football. It has happened in football, right?
I know, but it doesn't make it right. For something like that, it doesn't make it right. And these are big decisions. We're talking about Premier League now, and I think it's right for the EFL because, that's a multi-million pound industry. The Premier League is a multi-billion pound industry, and what I don't want is for any kind of lawsuits or anything. Maybe we're going off on a tangent here, but my point is, for something like this, and look, I don't mind being in the minority about it. I don't even mind being in the minority about if a venue in an FA Cup game can hold VAR and another one can't in the same round, well, that one has it and that one doesn't. I don't mind that at all. But
I'm for a level playing field across every single...
It's a level playing field for the two teams playing against each other. So,
I know that,
that's the level playing field.
But if the same decision, if the Tammy Abraham goal happens at a ground where there's no VAR, they'll be saying, well, how comes Villa get it and we don't?
But because they can't do it. Then there's plenty of EFL clubs like Burton and Macclesfield that are not able to do it. If they're not able to do it and they haven't got the money to do it, both teams accept that going onto the pitch. The bottom line is VAR was brought in to try and stop decisions like this. And if that's offside and Newcastle are knocked out the FA Cup because of an offside decision, then that's wrong.
It's going to be a big debate, particularly if Newcastle United go out. Scott Minto will be back with you and Joe Shedden very, very shortly at Villa Park. A reminder, you can listen to the conclusion of round 4 of the Formula E World Championship over on Talksport 2 right now from Jeddah. And following that from 7 p.m, it's live PGA Tour action from the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am at Spyglass Hill. But Aston Villa 1 at Newcastle 0 at the break. The second half with Villa a man down is coming straight after this.
For years, petrol set the benchmark. Hybrids cost more. Efficiency paid extra. Today, BYD reset the benchmark. Electric intelligence costs less than petrol. Advanced technology, real efficiency, no compromises. The BYD Sea Lion 5 DMI Super Hybrid SUV from just $29,995. Find out more and book your test drive at byd.com/UK.
FA Cup Live on Talksport with McDonald's. The Big Arch is here to stay at McDonald's with its very own delicious sauce. Available from 11 a.m, subject to availability, price and participation may vary.
We're into the thick of the season now, and so's Coral's Reward Shaker, with even bigger rewards and offers. The half and half scarfers, shaking decisively for once. They backed a super boost. Next to them, the Prawn Sandwich Brigade. Oh, they've shaken up a free bet after that free lunch. Play Coral's free reward shaker to win bigger guaranteed daily rewards and offers this season. Coral, we're here for it.
18 plus UK max 1 reward or offer per player per day. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Reward restrictions and T's and C's apply. Gambleaware.org.
All right, resistance son. Let's climb.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, my knee's playing up again.
Have you ever had it looked at?
No, but I've been doing a few stretches.
When my shoulder went, Benenden Health got me expert help. Showed me exactly where I was going wrong.
30 seconds, people.
Press play on your health with physiotherapy and much more. All for less than £16 per person per month. Search Benenden Health. Fee reviewed periodically. T's and C's apply. Qualifying periods apply for some services, including physio. UK only. Visit benenden.co.uk.
With the Little Plus Bakery Spin, you can get a free bakery coupon every time you shop. Just scan Little Plus at the checkout, spin, win, and enjoy a free bakery item. Lidl. More to value. One spin per customer per day, subject to availability. Ends 25th of Feb. 18 plus GB only. T's and C's apply. See lidl.co.uk/LPTV.
They expect you to stay quiet, to swallow hidden fees, put up with faulty products, and accept poor service as just the way it is. But you can demand better. Stand up, speak up, because with Which on your side, you can say no to bad business, buy with confidence, and get the service you deserve. Which, the power in you. Find out more at which.co.uk.
Jack is in construction, totally unaware.
Unaware of what?
He could be paying too much tax. Jack's forever shelling out his own cash to travel between sites or buying tools.
Yeah?
So he may be owed money by HMRC. Rift Tax Refunds helps people get the money back. On average, over £3,000 back. Get the ball rolling. Search Rift Tax Refunds. Search Rift Tax Refunds today.
Share the love this Valentine's Day with delicious restaurant deals for two from £30 on Deliveroo.
Ooh.
Get bowled over by hearty noodles and curries from Pho. Or fall head over heels for flavour-packed wings from Wingstop. All delivered in as little as 25 minutes. Go on, share the love with Deliveroo. Order now. Subject to availability, selected items, fees, geographical restrictions, and T's and C's apply. Ends 15th of Feb.
He's having a blinder. He's clipped the post. He's looking formidable. Then substitution. His game might be over, but yours isn't. With Betfair's Safe Sub, your bet simply rolls onto the player coming on. Playing a different league with Betfair.
Valid on selected leagues and markets only. Applies to singles, multiples and bet builder bets on qualified player outcome selections. Does not apply to odds boost. T's and C's and exclusions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Pleasure yourself with football. FA Cup Game Day on Talksport.
You're listening to FA Cup Game Day live on Talksport. I'm Hugh Wizencroft, and the score is Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0 in the FA Cup fourth round. It's been a controversial opening 45 minutes. Let's take a look at the halftime highlights with McDonald's.
Halftime highlights on Talksport with McDonald's. Got Big McDonald's hunger? The Big Arch is here to stay. Available from 11 a.m. Subject to availability. Price and participation may vary.
Chipped in by Douglas Luiz. Abraham takes it down and scores! Right through the middle! Rodgers finds Barkley. There's a man over. It's Leon Bailey into the area. Cuts it back. Abraham. Good block by Chow. Luca Digne down the inside left, pulling it back, and Barkley into the ground with the left-footed volley. Barnes now forward into the penalty area. Gets the return ball. Harvey Barnes has lashed it into the side netting. Suddenly Newcastle are clear on the counter, and Bissett is miles out. He's lunged in on Jacob Murphy, and he's off. What is the goalkeeper thinking there? He is miles off his line.
An eventful first 45 minutes at Villa Park. Aston Villa are going to have to play the rest of the game with 10 men. The impetus going in the favour of Newcastle United, but they'll need to come from behind if they're to claim a place in round 5. The second 45 minutes coming very, very shortly. That was thanks to McDonald's.
Halftime highlights on Talksport with McDonald's. Got Big McDonald's hunger? The Big Arch is here to stay. Available from 11 a.m. Subject to availability. Price and participation may vary.
Remember, we are inside Anfield. A little bit later on, Liverpool will host Brighton in another all-Premier League affair in round 4. We'll see who will make it through, whether we'll be here late into the evening with extra time. That could happen too at Villa Park. We'll bring you right to the conclusion there before we join events at Anfield. And there's been plenty of football up and down the country today as well. Let me just remind you of the FA Cup fourth round results. Burton Albion took West Ham United into extra time, but Crescencio at Somerville got the winner in extra time. Manchester City beat Salford City 2-0. That was live on Talksport 2. A stunning free kick to win it from Louis Reed for Mansfield Town, who knocked out Premier League side Burnley. Elsewhere, Norwich 3, West Brom 1, Southampton 1, Leicester City 2. That one settled in extra time as well. And Port Vale against Bristol City postponed and rescheduled to Tuesday the 3rd of March. Let me hand back, though, to Villa Park. Let's hope for another cracking 45 minutes in the company of the Chelsea FA Cup winner Scott Minto and Talksport's Joe Shennon.
Well, it was a controversial first half, but the second half is about to begin here, and much intrigue lies ahead, with Aston Villa now down to 10 men. It was interesting watching Martinez come out to warm up right after, really, the half-time whistle went, the goalkeeper, because he didn't have a touch after coming on for Bissett following that reckless challenge. Jacob Ramsey straight away for Newcastle, winning them a corner of Pau Torres. Newcastle corner in the opening 15 seconds of the second half, as the team playing from right to left in the green shirts, white shorts and green socks lay out their intent. The 10 men of Aston Villa playing from left to right in claret and blue with white shorts. They have it stacked against them, the odds potentially here, Aston Villa. Got to play a whole half of football at least with just 10. Corners taken short, now work back to Lewis Hall, square to Harvey Barnes from the edge of the D. Big deflection on that shot, and Martinez's first touch stops the ball from going behind for another corner. Aston Villa then lead by a goal to nil. Martinez is in goal after Bissett's sending off right at the end of the first half. Bogard, Torres, Lindelof and Digne, Douglas Luiz, Barkley and Onana, with Rodgers in support of Abraham up front. And for Newcastle United, Ramsdale is in goal as Aston Villa come forward here with Ross Barkley. Good tackle back by Lewis Hall, and Newcastle win it back. Trippier is the right back, Hall the left back, Chow and Byrne are the central defenders, Tonali and Ramsey holding, Murphy, Voltemada and Barnes in support of Asula up front. Jacob Murphy's offside on the far side of the field, and the Newcastle fans are very quick to make their feelings heard after that controversial opening goal. Here's Scott Minter.
I think the referee's assistants are going to get their flag up even if they're not 100% sure in this second half. I don't know whether communication is relayed back to them at half-time as to whether that was, that was a mistake. It was offside. Look, I mean, it happens. Mistakes happen. I understand what Hugh's saying. I genuinely, if we didn't have VAR, that's fine. I'd deal with that. But if I'm Newcastle and VAR is able to be used, especially in what is like the equivalent of a Premier League game, then I'll be very angry if it is the goal that knocked us out of the FA Cup. Having said that, we've got 45 minutes, 11 v 10, make the most of it.
Newcastle coming forward under the lights, far side the right with Trippier in a 50-50 with Luca Digne, and the ball takes a double deflection, goes out of play for a throw to Aston Villa. The Villa bench, Konsa, Mings, Martson, Sancho, Buendia, Watkins, Garcia and Kone. And for Newcastle, the subs are Pope, Ruddy, Willock, Elanga, Gordon, Alex Murphy, Shahar, Neve and Park. So Newcastle know that time is on their side in the search for an equaliser, and they have the added benefits of one more outfield player.
Yeah, and the thing is, they didn't have a shot on target in that first half.
No.
You've got to find a way to get a shot on target. It's talked about how you get the wide players. Luca Digne, could he have been sent off? Again, in a Premier League game, would VAR have called him over? Would they have slowed it down? Would they have paused it at the first spot and made it look as worse as possible? Which, by the way, I hate. Don't look at worst case scenario. Just let it go through first of all. And if he asks for the slow motion, but don't ask for a still. A still will always look bad because you're always looking for the worst possible moment of it. Doesn't tell the full story. But on another day he could have been sent off. It could be down to 9.
Unai Emery a bit late for the second half as he trudged up the near side touchline from the corner towards the left hand side. That's where the tunnel is at Villa Park. Zipping up his long puffer jacket. Aston Villa with Rodgers giving the ball away on the halfway line, and Newcastle United will get a throw. Hall goes straight back to Burn. Newcastle right to left towards the north end of the ground in the second half. That's where there are 6,500 travelling fans who have made the trip from the northeast today. Forward by Trippier, down the middle, good interception by Pau Torres, read it well in front of Willisula, and Newcastle are going to have to be a little more inventive than that as Sandro Tonali tattoos down his arms, commits a foul, and it's a free kick to Aston Villa midway inside their own half. Villa, who haven't won a major trophy since the mid-90s, and that was the League Cup under Brian Little. One of the big boys is going to go today as far as the FA Cup is concerned.
It's a fascinating conversation to have with an Aston Villa fan. And I was speaking to an Aston Villa fan earlier this morning, a guy called Gabby Agbonlahor.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of him. And it was like, well, Champions League or winning a trophy. And he said, look, I get it. The fact that we need to be getting the money, one thing we can't afford to do is be losing more of our best players, and especially not the jewel in the crown with Morgan Rodgers. But I want to see my team winning a trophy.
Early ball in by Jacob Murphy. Good goalkeeping by Martinez. Gathers the ball into his chest just forward of the 6-yard line. Yeah, he scored a few goals on this pitch, didn't he, Gabby?
He certainly did.
1 or 2. Martinez is playing all of his usual games, trying to slow it down here for Aston Villa in front of Willisula. Back it goes to Martinez again. After all the drama so far tonight, we've got another live commentary from the FA Cup to come later. Liverpool against Brighton at Anfield at 8 o'clock. That's followed by the Sports Bar Weekender with Adam Cattrall and Jermaine Pennant. 03717 223344 to have your say. More live FA Cup football for you tomorrow as well. Birmingham against Leeds, Oxford against Sunderland, Arsenal against Wigan, and Grimsby against Wolves will be on Talksport 2. Then Monday night, Macclesfield against Brentford. Out on the left-hand side for Newcastle is Hall. That's a great left-footed cross. Header away by Digne. Bounces down towards Tonali. Tonali nudges the ball square. Barnes gets there first. Tries to race down the inside left. And he's gone down. He's thrown himself to ground. And he's going to get a yellow card for diving. And they're on their feet, the Aston Villa fans in front of us here, to applaud Chris Kavanagh, the referee. Chris Kavanagh, who's had a very busy night. 52 minutes in, 1-0 to Aston Villa.
He certainly has.
We're only 52 minutes in, Scott.
He must be
more
thinking,
to come.
I mean, I wonder if referees think, I can't wait for this game to end. And it's not that he's having a bad game, he's not. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of things that went on in that first half, and that was an interesting decision. Harvey Barnes went down. It wasn't a foul. So fair play to him for having the courage to say, actually, do you know what? Not only did I not see it as a foul, so therefore you're diving. I'm gonna book you for it.
Good noise from both sets of supporters here at this grand old ground, one of the great characterful theatres of English football. Up goes 6'6" Byrne with a header in front of Tammy Abraham, whose goal separates the two teams. The 10 men of Aston Villa lead by a goal to nil. Angled ball by Barkley is straight out of play. It was Bizzett, the Aston Villa goalkeeper, sent off for an utterly reckless challenge just before half-time, after Abraham had given them the lead early on in the game. And that's changed the dynamic. Newcastle go over halfway with Kieran Trippier. Newcastle yet to seriously test either Aston Villa goalkeeper so far in the game. Been a bit flat, actually, Newcastle in the final third, you'd have to say, though Eddie Howe has got plenty of options on the bench. Lewis Hall, midway inside the Aston Villa half, out on the near side, wearing number 3 on the back of his green shirt. Angles the ball forward to Barnes, left corner of the penalty area now, taking on Barkley, but can't get beyond him. Hall and Barnes combine again on the near side. They go infield to Voltemade. Voltemade runs right into Rodgers, then hassles Rodgers as he attempts to win the ball back, and does so effectively enough. Voltemade carries the ball forward, and Tonali chips it up the middle. That's a lovely pass towards Trippier, just slightly overhit, out of play for a goal kick. Here's Scott Minton.
I was just thinking, Villa do have a really high line, so you can't really have a straight ball over the top, because then it needs to be just weight perfect. But it was the right run from Kieran Trippier. What you need, just the balls just to be played and almost just drop dead in behind for people to run onto. Lewis Hall was in a position quite close to us, and I'm thinking, just whip the ball in behind the defence to go across for some Newcastle player to get onto as well, but he didn't, and he passed it to Harvey Barnes, and in the end nothing happened. You know, obviously Villa have a high line for a reason, but a strength can be a weakness, and get the ball in behind, providing of course you get the right run.
Anthony Gordon warming up in front of us here for Newcastle. Jacob Ramsey scampering forward. Now Lewis Hall from the edge of the centre circle. Out to the left side, and Barnes jinks in field onto his right foot. Plenty of claret and blue shirts behind the ball here for Aston Villa. In fact, everybody's behind the ball now. Malik Chow, 30 yards out. Little flick into the path of Ramsey in the penalty area. His touch is heavy, and the assistant, despite Ramsey's loud appeals and protestations, signals with that yellow flag that it is indeed a goal kick to Aston Villa. The 10 men lead 1-0, and Ramsey gets a booking for dissent.
Well, he was very, very angry. I didn't think he needed to. I mean, I think he's actually right. Douglas Luiz gets the touch there. But I can see why the referee's giving it the other way. And, you know, Ramsey just needs to be careful. Obviously, this is a big game for him, coming back to Villa Park. He wants to try and make an impact. You can clearly see that. You've got to make sure he doesn't get booked for something silly like that.
A very chilly night here as Aston Villa look over the top for Abraham in a foot race with Byrne. Byrne gets across in front of the Holt end and smuggles the ball out of play for an Aston Villa throw. And again, the Villa fans are out of their seats urging their team forward. What they do have, the 10 men, of course, is a lead to hang on to. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle 0, and Jason Tindall, Eddie Howe's long-time assistant, they work together at Bournemouth, is having a word with the manager on the near side of the field. How long before Newcastle leave it before they make changes? Rodgers wriggles away from Hall into the box. It's cleared away skywards by Voltemade. The ball drops down from high up into the sky. Header away by Lindelof for Aston Villa beneath the floodlights here. Pau Torres shepherding it all the way back to Martinez in yellow. Martinez is very calm, plays it square to Lindelof, who darts away from Asula. Asula a willing runner, but not much more than that tonight. Out on the dead ball line is Pau Torres. He'll clear the ball out of play. Good pressing by Newcastle. Throw for them midway inside Aston Villa territory.
Well, I mean, that's what they're kind of known for, an Eddie Howe Newcastle side, but even more so when you're playing against 10 men. Absolutely press them. You should have a spare man. And even if it goes up there, then you should be 2v1, or maybe someone can just drop off because the time it takes them back to front, someone can get back. So really try and push them and tire them out.
So 1-0 here to Aston Villa. The 8 o'clock kickoff in the FA Cup is at Anfield, where Mark Wilson has all the team news.
8-time winners Liverpool make 4 changes from the win at Sunderland as Endo, Robertson, Gravenberch and Ekitike drop out. Kirkes, Szoboszlai, Jones and Chiesa come in. 3 changes for Brighton: Verbruggen, Welbeck and Mitoma out. Steele, Costules and Howell come in. 8 o'clock start at Anfield for Liverpool against Brighton.
Thank you, Mark. I'm looking forward to listening to that on my way home. Rodgers is down for Aston Villa. Newcastle continue in possession. It's not a head injury. Here on the right-hand side is Jacob Murphy, suddenly scampering in field. Murphy runs into the tall frame of Abraham, and now Onana carries it forward for Aston Villa into the centre circle, but he's got nobody up with him. Onana, a lone foray. He's charging down the left-hand side here, Onana. He's carried the ball probably 50, 60 yards, and he's gone down under the challenge of Murphy and won a free kick as Rodgers gets to his feet. But that's brilliant work by Onana, who is really whipping up the crowd into a frenzy here, having carried the ball forward with almost no advantage, it looked like, whatsoever. Free kick to Aston Villa in a dangerous position.
Yeah, and that's what you need. These players are going to have to give 10% extra from what they perhaps thought they might because of that sending off. I mean, look, they're going to be on the back foot for sure, and they're going to be absolutely shattered by the end of the game. But talked about set pieces in the Premier League and how important they are. When you're on the back foot, make sure that delivery is right. If they can get a second goal, 2-0, I'd feel pretty confident a 10-man side, Premier League side, can defend a 2-0 lead almost against anyone.
This is the FA Cup, where anything can still happen. 1-0 to the 10 men of Aston Villa. Free kick delivered in by Luca Digne. Onana trying to climb, headed away. Pau Torres with his back to goal. Left corner of the 18-yard box. Taking on Trippier, nudging it wide left to Barkley. Barkley shimmies in field. Plays it backwards now to Victor Lindelof. Forward of the centre circle, Lindelof will have to turn under pressure from Asula. and go all the way back to Martinez. We are nearly at the hour mark. Really wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle make some changes sooner rather than later.
Well done Asula there, because he hounded Emi Martinez, who just ended up knocking it long.
And he called for it early down the inside left. Hall played the pass a bit too late. Bogard made the interception. Aston Villa, the 10 men working extremely hard. But here is Sandro Tonali for Newcastle. Square ball to Ramsey, 28 yards out. Nudges it wide to Trippier. Trippier looks up from the right corner of the penalty area, finds Tonali again. Aston Villa well organised, everybody's behind the ball, and Tonali's pass towards the right in front of the Newcastle fans with their black and white striped shirts on goes out of play, and it's in the end a harmless attack for Newcastle that results in an Aston Villa throw.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you can't afford to do is just give away silly passes, lack of concentration or whatever reason. You know, Aston Villa, each individual player will try and up it, but they will tire. You have to really make the pitch as big as possible and make sure that in the last 20 minutes Villa have to make changes. You see Eddie Howe already speaking with Jason Tyndall whether they should make changes.
Newcastle from right to left in the second half. Barnes infield from the near side, looks for Voltemada. Good first touch on the edge of the D, rolls the ball wide out to the right. Kieran Trippier, they're queuing up in the middle, deflection on the cross. Newcastle want handball. The referee has a look at it, and in the end, has he given a goal kick here, the referee? Much to Newcastle's displeasure. Eddie Howe cannot believe it.
Oh, he's fudged it. I hope he's right.
He's given a free kick here, the referee. A free kick right on the edge of the penalty area. The appeals were against Luca Digne, and the Newcastle fans, well, he's miles inside the box there, Digne.
He's at least a yard inside the box. His arm is up in a, shall we say, a not brave, unnatural way. It's a penalty. That should be a penalty. And look, I feel sorry for officials. And again, bring it on, Hugh. Bring it on, Aid.
But you don't need VAR to get that right. That is such a simple decision.
But they've made it. They've made a mistake, and this is what VAR is for clear and obvious errors. Everybody can make a mistake, Joe. It's a bad mistake, don't get me wrong, because the referee's assistant is that side. He should be able to see it, even if the ref can't. How have two of them got it wrong? But it's a clear and obvious error from both. And he's given the foul. He's given the handball. And he's a yard inside the box. It's a penalty.
Free kick is a yard outside the penalty area. Two ready to come on here for Newcastle United. Free kick to them against the 10 men of Aston Villa, who lead by a goal to nil. Over an hour gone. Trippier standing over it. They're queuing up in green. Dinked in by Trippier. Bird goes up. Punched away by the goalkeeper. Out to Tonali. Through a crowded in. Newcastle are level. Listen to the Geordie roar. Tonali wheels away. Eddie Howe stands motionless. But it's Newcastle United who are back level at Villa Park, and now it really is game on in the second city. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 1.
OK, so from that free kick there's been a goal, but there's a separate conversation there. It doesn't matter in this particular instant because Newcastle have got the equaliser, and they've got another half an hour, 11 v 10. They have to make the most of this. It's a good ball in. Emi Martinez has come out and he's flapped at it. There's a deflection as well. Tonali's had the shot coming in, and it's gone straight off. Is it Douglas Luiz? And Martinez has got no chance whatsoever. And we do have a game on our hands. What a Villa, how are Villa going to respond to this?
Two changes for Newcastle as Gordon and Elanga come on for Asula and Murphy. And Aston Villa are going to make a couple of alterations themselves, Ollie Watkins and Emi Buendia. So it's 1-1 on Talksport. 63 minutes in, and 6,500 Newcastle fans are jumping for joy. Some of them behind the goal, some of them on the far side. Feels like they're everywhere at the moment. 1-1 the score, and it's Tonali's goal. Yes, there was a deflection, but it was on target anyway, and Tonali's made it 1-1. Free kick given against Jacob Ramsey by the referee. And it is interesting to see that it is Buendia and Watkins, two forward players coming on for Aston Villa, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to see a great 30 minutes. I really do. I think Villa obviously want to try and... I mean, neither of these teams want extra time. I mean, it's not as if they're going to give the game away. Of course they're not. I think we're going to see two teams absolutely going for it. Head-to-head battle. But it's 11 v 10 now. And there's a long way to go. There's 30 minutes until the end of the 90 minutes, if you include injury time. Plus, there could be another 30 minutes. There's no doubt about it. It's advantage Newcastle.
Well, Tammy Abraham is going to take the applause of the Aston Villa support, and he's going to come off to be replaced by Ollie Watkins. Here is Abraham, and Buendia will come on for Barkley. Buendia, who is used to making an impact off the bench actually over the course of the season, and Aston Villa just in general have a great record in terms of substitutes coming on to make a real impact in the game, and they need that here. 20 minutes into the second half, you're listening to Talksport. The 10 men of Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 1.
What I would say is I do like Ollie Watkins a lot, and yes, he's not been prolific this season, but he's been carrying a bit of an injury. And if he's anywhere near the physical specimen that he could be, 80-90%, he will come on and make a big difference. He did it at Stamford Bridge, scored so many crucial goals. What a substitution he is.
Pau Torres, shy of the halfway line, chips the ball high down the left. Luca Digne off to the raking pass from Pau Torres. It's cleared away, hacked into the lower two of the Doug Ellis stand by Kieran Trippier, Newcastle's number 2 and captain tonight. Well, which way will this FA Cup tie swing next? We've already had a couple of FA Cup ties go to extra time today, including Burton 0, West Ham United 1, and at the moment we are heading for extra time here. Long throw into the penalty area is going to come from Luca Digne into the near post where it's headed away. Drops down on the edge of the box, nudged forward by Buendia. Racing into the area is Pau Torres, beaten to it on the stretch by Chow, who clears it out of play again for another Aston Villa throw. Digne once more, the Frenchman, has gone across to take it. Villa attacking the Holt end in the second half, though they've barely threatened at all. Digne delivers high, takes a big deflection off the first man, cleared away to Elanga. Elanga's first touch, he can't bring it down effectively enough. Nudged forward by Douglas Luiz, and Trippier waits for his goalkeeper, Ramsdale, in the end, quick off his line. Well, the momentum here is most certainly with Newcastle as we go into the final quarter of the game. Here is Hall, near side to Barnes, right in front of us. Barnes is a yard or so infield from the left, trying to race away from Bogard, pushes it forward to Tonali. Poor ball infield by Tonali. Remember, Villa have got great quality on the field, but Tonali's won it back through the middle towards Voltemada. Good block by Pau Torres at the last moment. Two Aston Villa players got in each other's way, and Newcastle United have a throw level with the edge of the 18-yard box. It's 1-1 Scott Minter.
Harvey Barnes was offside there, but the flag didn't go up. Didn't matter in the end. But if Newcastle score from here, then it can certainly be related to that.
Hall, right in front of the near side touchline, very close to the tunnel, will take the throw. The orange ball looping up into the sky, flicked onto the near post by Chow. Voltemada heads it away from goal, nudged clear by Buendia, and then Trippier in a foot race with Watkins, and Watkins is away. Oh, he's adjudged to a foul, Trippier. Now that is another controversial decision, because I didn't think at first glance there was a great deal of contact. In fairness to Watkins, he's barely appealing.
Well, he's appealing as much as he could appeal. To be fair, his arms are all over him. Kieran Trippier's gone down early.
Meanwhile, here come Newcastle. Ramsey cutting it back. Smuggled away. Gordon drives the ball just wide. Took a deflection on its way through via the right foot of Anthony Gordon, and it almost kissed the post on its way behind for a corner. What a game.
What an FA Cup game we have got here. Newcastle very much on the front foot. Anthony Gordon, how close is that? The slightest of touches to take it, as you rightly kiss the post. Ollie Watkins and the whole of Villa Park bar the Newcastle crowd believing that there's no way that was a foul, and he would have had a 1-on-1 from the halfway line. I think both his arms were across Kieran Trippier, enough to say it was a foul.
Well, try telling these two sets of players that the FA Cup doesn't matter. To say that it doesn't is absolute rubbish. it matters a great deal. There's an Aston Villa player down inside the penalty area now. I think it's Pau Torres who's gone to ground under the challenge of Dan Burn. 21 minutes to go, and replays are showing us that Burn had his arms around Pau Torres' neck there.
Get up. Get up.
Was there anything in the foul on the foul by Watkins, Scott? On Trippier?
He had one arm across him and then he got a second arm there, which I think there's enough to say that was a foul. But let me tell you, Kieran Trippier, as soon as he realised there were arms on him, he went down. He did not want a foot race with Ollie Watkins.
You will want to have your say on the Sports Bar Weekender following our live commentary of Liverpool against Brighton here on Talksport later. Corner by Trippier, right-footed and in swinging, flicked away by Lindelof, and behind for another Newcastle corner. The away support field, there was another foul in the 18-yard box. This time Pau Torres as he got hold of Burn. Well, who'd be a referee on days like this? No VAR at this stage of the fourth round of the FA Cup, but I think there will be calls for it to be reintroduced after tonight, whatever happens over the rest of the game. 20 minutes to go, we're heading for extra time as it stands. In by Trippier from the corner, headed away by Lindelof, drops to Tonali again, left edge of the area, works it wide to Barnes. Barnes back to Sandro Tonali, 25 yards out to whip in the cross over the head of Dan Burn and behind for a goal kick. The 10 men of Aston Villa are still level, and you are listening to FA Cup Game Day on Talksport with McDonald's. Order delivery on the McDonald's app from 11 a.m, 18 plus. Fees apply to delivery orders, subject to availability. Price may vary. Well, take a breath, I think, Scott Minter, momentarily.
Honestly, Joe, I'm shattered watching this, but please don't sub me. I'm loving it.
You're tired in a good way. It's been a tremendous watch so far, and there's still no sign of who is going through to the fifth round. And joining the likes of West Ham United, joining Mansfield Town, who got a brilliant win away at Burnley in the FA Cup. Manchester City, Norwich and Southampton all through today. Birmingham Leeds, Oxford Sunderland, Arsenal Wigan and Grimsby Wolves, all live on the Talksport network tomorrow. Make sure you download the app.
Do you know what? When I got this game, I thought these are two proper clubs with great sets of fans. The managers will go for it. That's exactly what we're seeing today. Wonderful game in the FA Cup.
It is superb. Newcastle in the green and white with Tonali. Now Chow, 30 yards out, nudges it square to Trippier. Trippier looks up, floats in the cross, headed away by Onana. And smuggled further clear by Buendia for Aston Villa. They can't get a foot on the ball at the moment, Aston Villa. It is all Newcastle United. They look likely to get the late winner here. 1-1 against the 10 men of Aston Villa. Harvey Barnes, the former Leicester player, jinking infield from the left once more, tracked all the way by Bogard. Hall had made an underlapping run, not offside according to the assistant referee. Back to Tonali, attack the defence. Chow taking aim from a long way out here, nudges it square instead to Trippier, pulling it back to Elanga. Elanga nudges the ball beyond the defender Digne, but he can't keep hold of it, and Pau Torres will steer it away. But can Aston Villa survive in the game like this for much longer, Scott?
Well, why didn't Malik Chow shoot there? He's 19 yards out, literally a yard away from the edge of the box, on his right foot. Have a pop, just make sure you hit the target. Maybe the keeper can't actually properly hold it and then someone can rebound it in. But it's absolutely attack the defence right now.
Barnes again in a one-on-one with Bogard. Whips in a delicious cross to the back post. Cleared away. Hit by Trippier, who fires it over the top. Well, that really was a delightful ball in from the left-hand side, inviting to say the very least. And the loose ball dropped to Trippier, who certainly didn't catch that right from the angle.
Do you know what? That word you used was spot on. That was a delicious cross. It really was. It just did half a yard. It goes to show for any young guys or girls out there, if they're a winger, you don't have to take on your fullback all the time. Don't have to get past him. Just get the half a yard and then whip it around it. It was a wonderful cross. Tantalising for someone to get on at the far post, and no one could in the end.
Forward it goes towards Rodgers for Aston Villa. Good work on the cover by Lewis Hall for Newcastle. Hall gathers the ball forward and carries it over the halfway line and plays a good early ball. Elanga slips as he goes clear on goal. And Aston Villa get fortunate, but there was no contact with Elanga. He just lost his footing on the slightly slippery surface of Villa Park.
Joe, he was in. And let me tell you, Pau Torres and Victor Lindelof, well, they're not Mickey van der Ven. They wouldn't have caught him. He definitely slipped. What a chance that was.
Well, the biggest moment of the game is still to be upon us. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 1. Villa have been down to 10 men since injury time in the first half after Marco Bizzet's dismissal. Straight red card. Tonali chips the ball into the penalty area. Header away by Digne. Aston Villa under siege at the moment. Everybody back defending for them. Elanga looking for Ramsey. Nudges it wide right to Trippier. Elanga on the underlap to whip it across. It's steered upfield and out of play in the end by Pau Torres for a corner to Newcastle United. A rather awkward, clumsy looking clearance. I think the ball did bobble up in front of him, in fairness. Plenty coming forward now for the corner for Newcastle United. I wonder what is the Aston Villa game plan at the moment. It seems to be to try and get to extra time. 15 minutes to go. Trippier's corner, headed across goal by Barnes. Byrne retrieves the loose ball. Back to Tonali, 25 yards out. Again a whip delivery from Tonali, nudged clear. And the ball is gathered up by Douglas Luiz, whose touch is heavy. It's straight out of play, and Newcastle look for every inch like they've got one man more on the field than Aston Villa.
They can't get out, Villa. Everyone, even Ollie Watkins, is just dropping so deep. They're trying to help the side, but the moment they try and look up or get rid of it, there's no Villa player to play it to, and it just keeps coming back.
There is no respite here for Aston Villa. Trippier again on the far side, fizzes in the cross, Hall at the back post, header away by Bogard, Burn square, Tonali with another drive. Oh, what a goal! Sandro Tonali took that brilliantly. He caught it so well, right-footed, 25 yards out. The ball fizzed beyond the dive of Emi Martinez. Tonali with an FA Cup cracker, and it might be enough to send Newcastle United into the fifth round. He's mobbed by his teammates, he's mobbed by the Newcastle supporters. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 2, and that goal, that strike was a thing of beauty.
And it was coming. It was definitely coming. We talked about wave after wave of attack. And as the ball came in, good cross from Kieran Trippier. It's a decent header from Bogart, but it falls to Dan Burn, who knows, no, I'm not going to have it from here. I'm going to give it straight first time to Tonali. Still, he didn't have much time because Emi Buendia was getting close to him. He took the first touch. He knew what he wanted to do. He absolutely hammered him, which ended up between Emi Buendia's legs. And he has given Emi Martinez no chance whatsoever. What a goal, what a finish. Villa now very much on the back foot.
And Villa reacts with a double change. Sancho and Maatsen for Douglas Luiz and Rodgers. They might as well throw everything at it here. Aston Villa, albeit a shame for the home fans that Rodgers has to go off. Newcastle have done their job in the second half. They've turned it around to lead by 2-1, and Sandro Tonali, of all people, is on a hat-trick. And it's Newcastle of the long range today, that's for sure. Tonali not shy of shooting, and certainly with that second goal, you can see why.
Ironic, Joe, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt, but Villa are the team that have been scoring goals from outside the box.
And now Voltemada setting up Hall on the overlap down the left. Hall's cross to the back post, headed behind by Pau Torres. Well, he had to make the telling touch there, the centre half, because if it had gone beyond him, Anthony Gordon would have had a header in at the back post for 3-1.
Well, if it goes 3-1, then Villa aren't coming back from that. They're still in the game. They must believe they're still in the game. They've been playing for the last 10-15 minutes. If they've been trying to hold out for half-time and extra time. And almost, what's the point of that? I mean, well done, Newcastle. We spoke about it at half-time, and the game turned on Bizot getting sent off.
Corner taken short, and it's a poor corner. Onana knocks the ball away for Aston Villa. And now they're on the count of the home team. Jadon Sancho over the top towards Maatsen, but too much on it. And through it goes to Aaron Ramsdale, who I can barely recall mentioning in the second half. Into the 79th minute now. Ilanga is racing forward, running at the Aston Villa back line. All action second half. Lucadini gets back at Ilanga, tucks it out of play, and the cheers from the Newcastle fans as Newcastle United win a throw. And they are going to bring on Joe Willock for, waiting for the cue from the assistant, the fourth official, Jacob Ramsey. So Ramsey going off against his old club. He's on a yellow.
It's been a brilliant second half of Newcastle. It really has. It's one thing to say, all right, it's 11 v 10. But you're still 1-0 down. You still have to somehow find a way to break down a very dogged 10-man, good Aston Villa side who are brilliant at home. Got a fantastic home record, although they have, of course, lost 2 of the last 3 at home, to Everton and Brentford. I mentioned it earlier with Adrian. They just look a little bit leggy, look a little bit tired. You think about the players that they had this time last season in Marcus Rashford and a few others as well. Obviously, Jacob Ramsey's gone now, Asensio. And I just don't think this squad is quite built for where they really want to be, where Emery wants them to be. So somehow they've got to find a way, even if they get knocked out today, to make sure they finish in a Champions League place. Still got a great chance of Europa League. Probably a better chance of Europa League than the FA Cup. That boy has been tough in his second half.
Very tough, although you have to credit Newcastle United because it's not always easy to play this effectively against 10 men.
And that's my point. At half-time, people are thinking, all right, it's 11 v 10. But Newcastle were still 1-0 down. They still had to find a way to get the equaliser. They got the equaliser, and then suddenly, we know we can go on and win this. The game's not finished, but Newcastle feel they can get the third the way they're playing.
Well, Villa look a little shell-shocked here, stunned by the Newcastle response in the second half. 2-1 to Newcastle on Talksport. We've got Liverpool against Brighton to come for you in the 8 o'clock kickoff on Talksport tonight. Malik Chow wriggling forward for Newcastle away from the challenge of Martson. Now it's worked out to the right-hand side. Anthony Gordon playing it backwards to Byrne. Byrne is inside the centre circle. And now Willock for Newcastle wearing gloves on this near side. And Newcastle have got the game very much in their control. Not quite a vice-like grip just yet because there's only 1 goal in it. But if anyone's going to score again, it's going to be Newcastle United in their green away kit. Here comes Willock down the left. Good work by Buendia getting across him. Eddie Howe's team have played this perfectly, Scott.
Yeah, let's give Newcastle lots and lots and lots of credit. It's not easy. Aston Villa at Villa Park. Yes, they're down to 10 men, but you're 1-0 down. You're away from home. You don't want to get knocked out the FA Cup. You've been rubbish all season away from home. But a brilliant performance at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium midweek. Can you follow it up? This is what you have to do. Can you go out and do it? Got to give absolutely everything, and they certainly have.
Long throw into the penalty area by Hall. Byrne with his back to goal trying to bring it down. Hit on the left foot by Barnes and deflected away. Watkins carries the ball forward now for Aston Villa. And he's played it to the left-hand side. Villa go backwards to Pau Torres. Can they summon up one chance maybe here, Aston Villa, to take the cup tie to extra time? With 7.5 minutes to go, plus any added time that's to follow. Pau Torres, centre circle. Angled ball to the left-hand side. Lucadinha over halfway. Nudges it back in field and square to Sancho. Sancho faced up by a sea of Newcastle green shirts.
I don't want to question Unai Emery, but I don't get the substitution of taking Morgan Rogers off. You're 2-1 down. I mean, Martin's a good player, don't get me wrong. Jadon Sancho, good player, but neither are as good as Morgan Rogers. And when you need something special, you're 2-1 down in the FA Cup.
Sancho left corner of the area, right-footed shot, and it cannons off the boot of Chow and high over the top into the Holt end. Well, he nearly made something happen there.
Better from Villa. At least they've got into the final third. 100% sure whether it was going in, and Aaron Ramsdale will believe that he could have saved it anyway. But this is what Aston Villa need now: set pieces, put in quality.
And it was certainly bending towards the far corner. Corner to Aston Villa at the Holt End. The 10 men, 2-1 down to Newcastle in the fourth round of the FA Cup. Luca Digne will take it. It'll be left-footed and out-swinging this delivery. Plenty forward in the claret and blue into the near post. Pau Torres with a looping header, only half dealt with by Newcastle United. Elanga then prods the ball further clear of the 18-yard box. One back by Bogard, and then Trippier hammers it away for Newcastle. It looked as though there was a counter-attack on momentarily there, but the ball is seized upon by Sancho. Sancho tried to turn away from Nick Voltemada, and he's held it up well here, Sancho. Good spell this for Villa, probably their best spell as an attacking force in the whole of the second half, which they have played with 10 men. Buendia, the number 10, out to the left. Digne hangs up the delivery, and Watkins has tried to bring it down, nudged away, only as far as Sancho. Suddenly it's Aston Villa's turn to attack. Forward to Buendia, into the penalty area now, and the cross is deflected behind for another corner to Aston Villa, who suddenly are lively late on in this game.
Brilliant. It's like a boxing match, isn't it, where suddenly they look out on it, on the ropes, but no, I'm going to start swinging. And that's exactly what Aston Villa are doing right now. And then listen to the crowds getting so much behind him. It's a brilliant atmosphere here.
Trippier's delivery. Everybody forward for Aston Villa, bar goalkeeper Martinez. Delivered in by Digne, headed away. Oh, and then a miscue by Trippier, knocking that from the left corner of his penalty area behind for another corner. How did he mess that up like that? With his right foot as well.
Don't ask me.
Well, you never did anything like that.
Of course I never did anything like that. Ever.
Scott Minto, FA Cup winner with Chelsea in 97, with us on Talksport. Villa looking for an equaliser. Corner taken short. Sancho twisting, turning from the angle. Back to Digne to whip it in left-footed. Headed away. It'll drop towards the left-hand side. Ian Maatsen for Aston Villa, who are having a great spell. Delivered in by Lindelof into the near post. Looks to bounce towards Watkins, but it's out of play via the touch of Digne, which was heavy. And it's a goal kick to Newcastle United. And that's the cue for some in the home sections to get up and head for the exits now. The 10 men are behind, and it looks as though Newcastle will be going through to round 5.
Well, again, the boxing analogy, we're in round 11, and they realise they're about 4 rounds down, Aston Villa, so they're just coming out swinging. That's been better for the last 5 minutes. Can they summon up another 5 or so minutes and just create that one chance?
Lindelof pushing the ball back to Martinez, who goes long straight away. Good flick by Watkins down the middle, but Byrne in the way of Maatsen. That's an aerial mismatch between those two. Back it goes to Ramsdale, whose touch was heavy in front of Maatsen. Just about managed to smuggle it away to the right back position. Willock has carried the ball out of play. Newcastle maybe a little on the ropes here. Aston Villa, the 10 men, 1, Newcastle 2. Into the final 3 minutes of normal time. Anthony Elanga is on the counter-attack here. He's got 2 in support. Elanga has Gordon ahead of him, and Barnes making a gut-busting run into the penalty area now. Barnes can cut it back across goal from the dead ball line, blocked off by Bogard. Bogard there to win it back. He's done his job well. And it will be cleared away by Bogard. Oh, terrible ball into the area. Voltemada is in, and Voltemada has scored, and there's no doubt about it now. Newcastle United are into round 5. Nick Voltemada lies on his back inside the penalty area. His goal drought is over, and in the end, Newcastle United are worthy winners. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 3.
Yes, they are. And I don't like pinpointing it on one person, but if Marco Bizot hadn't come out when he did, ridiculous tackle, red card, 11v11, Villa would have felt that they could still have kept it 1-0 and maybe even more. Who knows? We don't know. The bottom line is, the second half, Newcastle have been absolutely superb. I mean, I'm not sure what Bogart was doing there. We've seen some ridiculous passes. He's done it into the box. There's 3 Villa players, but it's gone straight to Joe Willock. And in the end, Nick Voltemada has just stepped in and dinked it over the diving Emi Martinez. I mean, Villa have given it everything here at Villa Park, but well done, Newcastle. We reiterate, it's one thing to say you've got the extra man, it's another thing to be doing it here at Villa Park. A team that's going for a Champions League place, maybe, and I've said all along, you know, don't talk about them as title contenders. If they finish in a Champions League place, that is an unbelievable season for Unai Emery, especially when you consider how they started. But the way Newcastle have turned this around, it's been a brilliant 45 minutes.
Alex Murphy for Kieran Trippier for Newcastle here, and there is an exodus all around the home sections of Villa Park. How it was going well for Villa before that ridiculous moment from their goalkeeper on the start of the game on the day. They have it in the area now with Watkins, Aston Villa. Sancho, dead ball line. Last 20 seconds of normal time, but this is surely beyond Aston Villa now. Newcastle 3-1 up as Buendia is nudged off the ball by the powerful Dan Burn, who glares at the Holt end. And that'll be a goal kick to Newcastle United, for whom it is a job very well done. 4 added minutes at the end of the game, and some of the Geordies have got their shirts off in the away section, and they're celebrating gleefully here. Those black and white shirts being swung above their heads. Somebody even had a shirt with Sandro Tonali's face on it earlier. Tonali, who has scored twice, Voltemada with the third, and well, Aston Villa have never recovered from going down to 10 men. On a strange night, a night where we've seen a number of bizarre decisions. But this is a very significant away win for Newcastle United, who've only won 3 away in the Premier League this season, Scott Minto. But how football can feel so different in the space of just a few days for Eddie Howe.
It's incredible. They say a week is a long time in politics, a week's a long time in football. How good were they on Tuesday night at Tottenham? Producer Sal nodding his head there. He was with us. Apart from 20 minutes at the start of the second half, you know, Newcastle bossed that game. And look, Villa were very good in the first half, 11v11. It wasn't as if they were dominating Newcastle. Newcastle looked as if they could be dangerous. And we talked about they've always got options off the bench as well. But the moment Bizot went off, half-time, right, this is what you need to do. Up the intensity. And it was wave after wave after wave of attack. Villa just couldn't get out. And in the end, once the equaliser came, there was a sense of, we know what's coming here. Still, that man, Sandro Tonali, you know, he got the winner. I know Voltemada's obviously made it 3-1, but Tonali with that second goal, it's a sweet strike. Emi Buendia sticking his leg out, it kind of goes in between his legs. But Emi Martinez, whether Buendia was there or not, would not get anywhere near that. It's a wonderful strike.
Well, Buendia just trudging off here, holding his hamstring, and that's concern for Aston Villa.
Stay off. You're down to 9, but just stay off. You're not going to win this game. Last thing you need is having a little sprint and then being out for 6 to 8, maybe even longer than that, weeks.
A miserable FA Cup night for Aston Villa. Liverpool against Brighton to come on Talksport, then the Sports Bar Weekender, where you can have your say on an incident-packed afternoon here at Villa Park. And Newcastle are not finished yet. Alex Murphy squared to Voltemada, left corner of the penalty area. 90 seconds to go, and Newcastle popping the ball about nicely here. The Newcastle supporters celebrating with great gusto as Buendia comes back on. So Villa restored to 10 men against the 11 of Newcastle, who really have outclassed them in this second half. And there's a television camera trained on Eddie Howe to the right of us. He's about to go and shake hands with Unai Emery, knowing that Newcastle are competing on 3 fronts this season: the Champions League, the FA Cup and the Premier League, of course.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, 11v10 again, you know, you practice it, but both with when you're the 11 and when you're the 10. When you've got the extra man, you try and make the pitch as big as possible, but it just takes one man just to think, don't have to try as hard, we've got the extra man, and suddenly it's 10v10. And Newcastle haven't been like that, been absolutely spot on with the ball. Real intensity. Without the ball, they've been pressing high, making Villa just knock it long, and in the end they weren't able to hold out. And again, I talk about ironic that Villa are the team that scored the most goals from outside the box in the Premier League this season. And Sandro Tonali has put in a couple of wonder strikes.
Well, the home sections of Villa Park are half empty at this point. We've had the 4 minutes of added time. Martinez goes long. It's headed away by Dan Burn. Willock on the halfway line for Newcastle. Tonali on a hat-trick. It's given away to Buendia, but Tonali very quick to win it back industriously. Can Newcastle get one more goal at the very end? Willock down the left-hand side. Tonali's in the middle. Bogard concedes a corner. And that is the end of the game. And Newcastle are through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. Eddie Howe's team have produced a textbook display of how to play against 10 men. Because the injury time in the first half was exactly the point at which this game changed. Aston Villa were 1-0 up through Tammy Abraham and not under any great threat, but their goalkeeper Marco Bizzett made an absolutely ridiculous scything challenge on the halfway line on Jacob Murphy, was deservedly sent off, and from that point Aston Villa never recovered. But it's not always easy to play against 10 men. Newcastle made it look straightforward in the second half here today. 2 goals from Sandro Tonali, the second beautifully struck, and Nick Voltemada with a late clincher for the third. It's been a great week for the Geordies, and the celebrations are well underway in the away end. Another victory on the road for Newcastle, another season without FA Cup glory for Aston Villa. Newcastle through, they've beaten the 10 men by 3-1.
Well, how good was that? Yeah, I can't decide whether it was Exhibit A for why we need VAR or why we don't need VAR, but all I know is Newcastle United were sensational in the second half, and in the end, the officiating didn't make a difference for them. Congratulations to Eddie Howe and his side, his players, and lap up the adulation from their fans. Remember, we've got Liverpool against Brighton, by the way, on the way shortly. Under 20 minutes to go until kick-off here in the FA Cup 4th round. But let's quickly reflect on events at Villa Park with the Chelsea FA Cup winner, Scott Minto. Brilliant, as you've just been saying, second half from Newcastle United. And Marco Bizzott, I'm not sure if Unai Emery's going to be able to look him in the face after that, because he may well have cost his side any opportunity they had of going through today.
About Maywell, Hugh, he absolutely did 100%. 11v11, Aston Villa will believe they could have seen the game out. I mean, we'll never know, it's hypothetical. 11v10, you saw what happened there. Can I just start off by saying, though, what a wonderful game of football. What a wonderful advert for English football.
Are you sure? Are you sure you weren't missing VAR a little bit, Scott?
Mate, you're wavering. You're wavering now, aren't you? I'm quite happy not to mention VAR. I'm quite happy to not have VAR. But there's so many people out there, and we all know who they are, would be moaning like anything if this happened on a regular basis, and it would happen on a regular basis. But genuinely, I'm happy not to talk about it. It's not a problem. It's up to you. The first
brilliant game of football. Brilliant game of football.
Wonderful FA Cup game. This is what the FA Cup and English football is all about.
Absolutely right. Enjoyed it from the first whistle until the last. There was second half impact from Sandro Tonali, who got a double, the first deflecting off Douglas Luiz, the second one. Just talk me through it, Scott. As pure a strike as you'll ever see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the game just completely changed with that sending off. And it was almost like Villa just couldn't get out. And we've mentioned it before about it was just attack after attack after attack. And Villa, they tried to head the ball out. Dan Burn, very clever, just realising, first touch straight to Tonali, because I know that some Villa players are going to come out and close any shot down. So he gave it to Tonali, but still, Tonali had so much to do. The first touch and then the second touch was just as sweet as you like. And Emi Martinez can try and dive 10 times out of 10. He's not stopping that. It really was a great strike. And obviously Nick Voltemada made it 3-1. And I'm pleased for him for getting the goal, because, you know, the stats in recent games haven't been good for him. But Tonali's the match winner, and that's a great match-winning goal as well.
Yeah, he's just been celebrating in front of the Villa fans, and a TV camera's just bumped into him. Didn't realise how far his wingspan was. A man that big, you can't get too close. But Nick Voltemada, as you mentioned, a very good moment for him. He's had a tough time of late. What next for Villa? Very quickly, a defeat for them. I think the Europa League might take on extra significance for them. Obviously, Unai Emery's won that competition 4 times. It'll be silverware for the club. That's what there should be all about right now with a team as good as they have. They're 8 points clear of 6, so they're in a good position to qualify through the Premier League. 7 points off the leaders in the Premier League, so who knows what will happen there. Where does he move forward, and what is most important for Villa for the rest of the campaign?
Look, I mean, I'm not a Villa fan. I've talked about earlier about how Villa fans, they want to see a trophy. And I actually think with the strength of the Premier League, winning the Europa League is an easier thing to do than winning the FA Cup. But they have to somehow, now where they've been all season, it's been wonderful. And I've said many times, I want to give Unai Emery a glass of water and watch him turn it into wine, because what he's done has been nothing short of sensational. It really is. The run they went on after the poor start to the season, but they look leggy now. They've lost Rashford, they've lost Asensio, they've lost Jacob Ramsey as well, the Tielemans, Kamara, McGinn, all massive losses also. They look tired, and they've somehow got to find a way to finish in a Champions League place, and it looks like it could be 5th, and I genuinely believe they could do that. But there are 6 teams, the top 6. Just a question of what order. But then there's the Europa League as well, and still there could be absolutely glory. This could be an historic season in terms of winning the Europa League and finishing in a Champions League place. Of course, if they win the Europa League, they naturally qualify for the Champions League, and he knows how to do it. So yeah, I wish them all the very best for sure.
Scott Minto, Joe Shannon, brilliant commentary. Fantastic game at Villa Park. Newcastle United join West Ham, Mansfield Town, Manchester City, Norwich City and Southampton in round 5 of the teams that have gone through today. We'll find out if Liverpool or Brighton will join them. Thank you very much indeed. After going out in round 3, by the way, for 3 straight years, it's now at least a place in round 5 for the Magpies for the last 3 years. They'll want to go right to Wembley, and just like they did in the Carabao Cup, give their fans a very, very special moment. We'll see, of course, in due time if they can do it. Sandro Tonali, the hero, finished Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 2. And up next, another all-Premier League affair in the FA Cup 4th round as Liverpool host Brighton.